In the 1950s, a secret initiative known as MK-Ultra emerged as part of a larger effort by the Central Intelligence Agency, or CIA, to explore the possibilities of mind control. This program sought to uncover ways to manipulate psychological states and alter individual behavior, reflecting a profound curiosity intertwined with intense paranoia during the Cold War era. The backdrop of this endeavor was the escalating tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union, where the fear of brainwashing and espionage loomed large. At the core of MK-Ultra was the experimentation with various substances, most notably LSD, which was then a relatively new and unregulated drug. The CIA believed that LSD had the potential to aid in the interrogation process, allowing them to break down subjects and extract valuable information. However, the ethical implications of such experimentation were largely overlooked. Subjects included not only prisoners but also unwitting civilians, who were often injected or dosed without their consent, contributing to the program's controversial reputation. One of the more unsettling aspects of MK-Ultra was the way the program echoed real societal fears. Many people were already aware of the power of suggestion and manipulation in psychology, including classic experiments like those performed by figures such as Pavlov and Skinner. The prospect that the government might employ advanced techniques to control thoughts and behaviors lit a fire of anxiety across the nation. The idea of being subjected to experiments without one's knowledge was deeply unsettling, leading to a widespread sense of distrust in authority. Testing varied widely, taking on forms that often seemed to blur the lines between science and speculation. Researchers experimented with sensory deprivation, hypnosis, and other less conventional psychological techniques in an attempt to exploit the mind's vulnerabilities. The CIA engaged various institutions, including universities and hospitals, collaborating with some researchers who believed in the potential benefits of such exploration. However, many of these experiments were unregulated, and there were no ethical safeguards in place to protect the participants. One of the notable figures connected to MK-Ultra was Sidney Gottlieb, who headed the program. Gottlieb's involvement highlights the intersection between ambition and moral ambiguity, as he exercised considerable power in directing experiments, often disregarding human consequences. The experiments conducted under his guidance sometimes resulted in severe psychological distress for participants, who found themselves grappling with lasting effects long after their involvement. News of MK-Ultra would eventually seep into public awareness, largely leading to a widespread outcry once investigations began in the 1970s. Congressional hearings unveiled the extent of the program and sparked a national conversation about governmental overreach, ethical standards in scientific research, and the implications of such a vast endeavor on civil liberties. People started asking difficult questions about where lines should be drawn in the pursuit of knowledge and whether the ends justify the means. One infamous episode of MK-Ultra involved the use of LSD in a brothel setting, where unsuspecting patrons were unknowingly dosed while being observed. This particular case exemplifies how far researchers were willing to go in their quest for knowledge about human behavior and reaction. The line between observer and participant blurred, raising questions about consent that continue to resonate in discussions of ethics and science. As investigations into MK-Ultra progressed, many documents related to the project were systematically destroyed, leading to a challenging effort to piece together a full narrative of what had occurred. The CIA's attempt to erase the traces of the program only deepened the mystery and further fueled conspiracy theories. The chilling notion of government secrecy in personal lives sparked a wave of skepticism that lasted long after the program officially came to an end. While MK-Ultra officially ceased in the 1970s, the dialogue it provoked around ethics in the scientific community remains relevant today. Societies across the globe now navigate an increasingly intricate web of technology and personal data. This history serves as a reminder that while exploration of human consciousness can yield insights and progress, the ethics surrounding such pursuits are crucial in maintaining trust between authorities and the public. Ultimately, MK-Ultra is a distinctive chapter in American history, reflecting both the allure of discovery and the dangers of unchecked ambition in the psychological sciences. Its legacy invites ongoing reflection on how far we are willing to go in search of knowledge, and the importance of maintaining ethical standards that protect individuals' rights, ensuring that history does not repeat itself in ways we might regret. The story of MK-Ultra, with its blend of intrigue and moral complexity, continues to captivate and provoke dialogue around the boundaries of science, governance, and personal freedom. Operation Paperclip was a covert program initiated by the United States government after World War II, aimed at recruiting German scientists, engineers, and technicians, many of whom had been affiliated with the Nazi regime. This operation played a pivotal role in the early years of the Cold War, as the United States sought to bolster its technological and scientific capabilities in various fields, particularly in aeronautics and military weaponry. The origins of Operation Paperclip can be traced back to the immediate aftermath of the war. As the Allies emerged victorious, it became clear that the knowledge and expertise of the German scientific community were invaluable. The United States was eager to harness this talent to ensure its technological supremacy over the Soviet Union, which was viewed as a growing threat. The race for military and space superiority would soon shape global dynamics, creating an imperative for the U.S. to secure advancements in technology. Among the most notable figures recruited through Operation Paperclip was Wernher von Braun. A leading rocket engineer, von Braun had played a significant role in developing the V-2 rocket for Germany. His expertise in rocketry was instrumental in the United States' space program. After moving to America, von Braun eventually became a key player in NASA, contributing to both the development of ballistic missiles and the Apollo program, which culminated in the historic moon landing in 1969. Another prominent scientist involved in Operation Paperclip was Hermann Oberth, often regarded as one of the founding fathers of modern rocketry. His theories and writings laid the groundwork for much of the research that followed. Oberth's contributions were not limited to theoretical insights. He was also involved in practical applications that significantly advanced rocket technology. The United States recognized that his innovative thinking could provide an edge in the burgeoning space race. Operation Paperclip was not without controversy. Many of the scientists brought to the U.S. had been deeply involved with the Nazi Party and had participated in the war effort. The ethical implications of recruiting former Nazis raised questions about accountability and morality. While the United States justified its actions by underscoring the need for these scientists' expertise, critics argued that doing so compromised the values that the Allied nations had fought to uphold. The decision to overlook the past actions of these individuals highlighted the complex and often contradictory nature of wartime politics. In addition to rocketry, Operation Paperclip also extended to various fields such as medicine, chemical engineering, and physics. Scientists who had contributed to advancements in medicine during the Nazi era were also brought to America. Their knowledge of medical practices, albeit tied to the dark history of human experimentation during the war, provided insights that would have otherwise taken years to develop. Moreover, the program also sought to draw on the expertise of engineers who had worked on advanced weaponry. This included personnel who had contributed to the development of tank technologies and missile systems. Integrating such expertise into the U.S. military allowed for rapid advancements in defense capabilities during a period marked by uncertainty and rivalry with the Soviet Union. As the years progressed, many of the scientists involved in Operation Paperclip became prominent figures in their respective fields. They not only shaped U.S. military and space policies, but also had a lasting impact on the global scientific community. Their contributions led to significant developments. However, the shadow of their past affiliations persisted, provoking discussions on ethics and responsibility within scientific research. Despite its controversial nature, Operation Paperclip undeniably contributed to the acceleration of American technological development. The insights and innovations garnered from the program positioned the U.S. at the forefront of the Cold War's scientific and military race. Engineers and scientists who had once been adversaries became key partners in the pursuit of progress and discovery. Throughout its existence, Operation Paperclip also served as a reminder of the complexities of human relationships and the irony of post-war dynamics. The very individuals who had once constructed instruments of warfare became integral to the construction of peace and exploration. This duality encapsulates the intricate nature of the modern world, where historical legacies often intersect with ambition and the desire for a better future. Ultimately, Operation Paperclip reflects a pivotal moment in history when the quest for knowledge, power, and progress necessitated difficult choices. The program represents not just a chapter in American history, but a broader discourse on the intersection of morality, technology, and globalization. As the world continues to navigate the challenges of modernity, the echoes of such decisions remind us that the pursuit of advancement often walks a thin line with ethical considerations. The Philadelphia experiment, shrouded in mystery and speculation, refers to an alleged secret military project purportedly conducted by the U.S. Navy in 1943. This intriguing tale revolves around the USS Eldridge, a Navy destroyer escort ship that, according to reports, underwent a series of shocking events during its time in Philadelphia. Legend has it that the primary objective of the experiment was to render the ship invisible to enemy radar, a technology the Navy hoped could turn the tides of World War II. The idea of invisibility itself is captivating, evoking visions of cloaked ships and stealth technology. Imagine a massive naval vessel, bustling with sailors and machinery, suddenly vanishing from sight. It sparks the imagination, evoking thoughts of science fiction and cutting-edge technology, yet the reality is entwined with mystery. The origins of the tale can be traced to a man named Carl Allen, also known as Carlos Allende. He claimed to have directly witnessed the experiment while working on a merchant ship nearby. Allen's detailed descriptions of the supposed event painted a vivid picture of the USS Eldridge disappearing into thin air and then reappearing, not just in place, but in time, traveling moments or even years into the future. This idea of temporal displacement adds another layer of complexity to the narrative, challenging our understanding of time itself. As the story goes, after the Eldridge supposedly became invisible, it reappeared with its crew experiencing severe psychological fallout. Some sailors reported disorientation, while others reportedly became fused to the ship's metal structure. These haunting details create a chilling atmosphere, enhancing the allure of the story. People wondered if a secret government project might have pushed the boundaries of science too far. The rumors sparked a media frenzy, attracting conspiracy theorists and skeptics alike. While initial reports almost felt credible, they quickly ran into several roadblocks, including a lack of concrete evidence. Official Navy records of the USS Eldridge stated that the ship was engaged in routine operations and that there was no record of such an experiment occurring. This discrepancy sparked heated discussions among enthusiasts. Those who dismissed the experiment as fiction argued the idea was simply too far-fetched, while supporters insisted there were elements being hidden by the government. Interestingly, the term, quote, Philadelphia experiment became synonymous with numerous tales of clandestine military operations and alleged government cover-ups. Discussions surrounding the event often transitioned from the supposed invisibility of the ship to even wilder theories involving extraterrestrial technology and quantum physics. In a world where science fiction is becoming increasingly intertwined with reality, people began to ponder the limits of modern science. The concepts behind the Philadelphia experiment resonate with many individuals who are curious about the potential of advanced technology. Research into invisibility and cloaking devices has progressed significantly, using modern science to explore the realms previously thought to belong only to fiction. Scientists today have experimented with metamaterials that can bend light, aiming to create an invisible cloak effect. Though tangible results may differ greatly from the fantastical elements of the original tale, it is attention-grabbing how some scientific pursuits echo the ideas proposed in these mysterious stories. As time has passed, the narrative of the Philadelphia experiment has evolved. Books, documentaries, and movies have dramatized the account, weaving even more elaborate tales that mix fact with fiction. This decentralized evolution of the story leads to a variety of interpretations, capturing the imaginations of those who consume the content. Supporters of the Philadelphia experiment often assert that the government has a vested interest in keeping such experiments under wraps, fearing public panic, or revealing advanced military capabilities. The idea of those in power conducting secret experiments resonates throughout history, where stories of hidden knowledge have fueled distrust towards institutions. What happens when we think about emerging technology? It opens debates about ethics, accountability, and the potential consequences of scientific advancement. In many ways, the Philadelphia experiment serves as a cautionary tale. It probes the threshold of scientific innovation, reminding us that every leap forward carries potential risks and moral questions about the boundaries of what humanity should pursue. As the legend continues to thrive, a range of viewpoints can be found. Some hold strong convictions about the authenticity of the event, while others treat it as an urban legend, a modern myth passed through generations. Whichever side one leans towards, the allure of the unknown is undeniable and timeless. Ultimately, the Philadelphia experiment reminds us why stories of the unknown endure. They tap into our innate curiosity, our desire to explore what lies beyond the limits of our current knowledge. They testify to humanity's quest for understanding, pursuit of mysteries, and yearning to grasp the intricate tapestry of existence. The possibilities are endless, echoing through time and captivating those who wonder if there are hidden truths still waiting to be uncovered. Each retelling invites a new generation to ponder the line between truth and fiction, scientific achievement and the supernatural, an essential aspect of human experience that transcends generations. In the mid-20th century, a wave of interest and curiosity surrounded the skies over the United States, particularly regarding mysterious flying objects that were unlike anything anyone had seen before. This phenomenon prompted significant attention from various government agencies, leading to the establishment of a program known as Project Blue Book. This initiative was launched by the United States Air Force in 1952 and aimed to investigate reports of unidentified flying objects, also known as UFOs. Project Blue Book was not the first initiative dedicated to exploring unidentified aerial phenomena. Prior to its creation, there were two earlier projects, Project Sign, which began in 1948, and Project Grudge, which followed in 1949. Each project attempted to assess and analyze sightings, but it was Project Blue Book that garnered the most public attention and became the face of the U.S. government's efforts to understand the unexplained. The project sought to answer two primary questions. First, were UFOs a threat to national security? Second, could any of the sightings be attributed to extraterrestrial life? Over its duration, which lasted until 1969, Project Blue Book collected a wealth of data and conducted thorough investigations. Investigators met with witnesses, reviewed reports, and sometimes even examined physical evidence, all in an effort to uncover the truth behind these phenomena. Throughout the project, there were numerous well-documented sightings reported across the United States. One of the most famous incidents occurred in July 1952 during a series of flyovers near Washington, D.C. Radar operators detected unidentified objects that moved in ways inconsistent with known aircraft. Fighter jets were scrambled to intercept the objects, but the events left military personnel and the public baffled. This incident highlighted the urgency and complexity of understanding these flying enigmas. Investigation methods varied significantly over the years, depending on available technology and changing circumstances. Initially, investigators used interviews, sketches, and reports outlined by witnesses. As time progressed, technological advancements allowed for more sophisticated research techniques, including radar analysis, and even partnerships with civilian organizations. The U.S. Air Force teams worked diligently, tirelessly collecting and analyzing thousands of reports. By the time the project ended, more than 12,000 sightings had been investigated. To some, the existence of UFOs remains a point of intrigue and speculation. Project Blue Book produced many reports that remain classified or only partially declassified even today. While some sightings were ultimately explained away as misidentifications, such as weather balloons, conventional aircraft, or natural phenomena, others defied easy explanation. The unknown nature of these sightings fueled public fascination and the notion that something beyond our current understanding might be in the skies. One interesting aspect of Project Blue Book was how it intersected with popular culture. Science fiction and UFO conspiracy theories became prominent themes in the 1950s and 60s, influencing movies, books, and television shows. Many people began to wonder whether we were alone in the universe, spurring discussions and debates about life beyond Earth. The mysterious buzz surrounding unidentified flying objects influenced the imagination of artists and writers, bridging the gap between reality and the fantastical. Notably, a significant outcome of Project Blue Book was the publication of the Condon Report in 1968, produced by a team from the University of Colorado. The report concluded that, while some UFO sightings were indeed puzzling, most could be attributed to natural causes or the misidentification of known objects. The findings lean toward the assertion that there was little evidence supporting the idea that UFOs were of extraterrestrial origin. As a result, the U.S. Air Force officially discontinued Project Blue Book in 1969, citing that its findings did not pose a threat to national security and suggesting that further investigation was unnecessary. However, the end of Project Blue Book did not mean the end of interest in UFOs. Today, discussions about unidentified aerial phenomena continue, with renewed government interest and public fascination. In recent years, there have been official acknowledgments and reports regarding sightings by military pilots, revealing that what lies in our skies is still a source of intrigue and enigma. Project Blue Book serves as a fascinating chapter in the story of our quest to comprehend the unknown. It represents an intersection of science, speculation, and the pursuit of knowledge that echoes in our collective curiosity. The pursuit of understanding what lies in the skies over us continues to this day, with individuals, researchers, and institutions working diligently to uncover more about the mysteries that envelop our planet and beyond. Whether we see these objects as harbingers, novelties, or mere myths, they invite conversations that stretch across cultures and generations, emphasizing our never-ending quest for discovery and understanding in the universe. The Manhattan Project was a monumental research and development initiative that took place during World War II, leading to the creation of the first nuclear weapons. This secretive project was a response to fears that Nazi Germany was working on its own atomic bomb, and it marked a significant milestone in scientific innovation and military strategy. The project began in earnest in 1942, spearheaded by the United States, with support from the United Kingdom and Canada. The name Manhattan Project originates from the Manhattan Engineer District of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, where the project was initially based. However, as the project expanded, it was executed in several locations across the country, including Los Alamos in New Mexico, Oak Ridge in Tennessee, and Hanford in Washington. At the heart of the Manhattan Project was a team of some of the brightest scientific minds of the time. This included theoretical physicists like J. Robert Oppenheimer, who served as the scientific director at Los Alamos, and Enrico Fermi, who created the first controlled nuclear chain reaction. Their work relied not only on cutting-edge physics but also on teamwork and collaboration across various fields like chemistry, engineering, and military strategy. The project focused primarily on two types of atomic bombs, one that used uranium-235 and another that used plutonium-239. The process of enriching uranium was complex and required innovative methods, leading to the development of large facilities capable of producing nuclear material. For instance, the Oak Ridge facility utilized electromagnetic separation, gaseous diffusion, and thermal diffusion to separate the isotopes of uranium. Meanwhile, the Hanford site was tasked with producing plutonium. Here, scientists built massive nuclear reactors to generate plutonium, a process that was as revolutionary as it was challenging. Engineers had to overcome numerous obstacles, including how to manage and safeguard the powerful nuclear reactions necessary for production. As the project advanced, the scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to overcome technical challenges and meet deadlines set by military leaders. The development of the bombs was shrouded in secrecy, with only a select group of individuals aware of the full scope of the project. The stakes were high, and the pressure to succeed was immense. In July 1945, after years of hard work, the Manhattan Project reached a pivotal moment. The Trinity test was held in the New Mexico desert, marking the first detonation of a nuclear device. This test confirmed the viability of the scientific theories behind nuclear weapons and ushered in a new era in warfare. The immense power of the explosion, equivalent to around 20 kilotons of TNT, demonstrated the bomb's destructive potential. Shortly thereafter, the decision was made to deploy atomic bombs against Japan in a bid to hasten the end of the war. On August 6, 1945, the first bomb, codenamed Little Boy, was dropped on Hiroshima, followed by the bombing of Nagasaki with Fat Man on August 9th. The devastation was catastrophic, resulting in countless lives lost and cities destroyed, ultimately leading to Japan's surrender. The ramifications of the Manhattan Project were far-reaching. It not only reshaped the landscape of military power, but also sparked an ethical debate regarding the use of nuclear weapons. The project marked the dawn of the atomic age and set off a nuclear arms race during the Cold War, changing international relations and military strategy for decades to come. In retrospect, the legacy of the Manhattan Project is complex. It serves as a reminder of human ingenuity and the capabilities of scientific discovery, but also of the moral implications of harnessing such potent forces. Today, the site of the Los Alamos National Laboratory continues to be a center for nuclear research, maintaining a connection to a history that forever altered the course of humanity. The story of the Manhattan Project is a reflection of the extraordinary achievements of science and technology, but also a cautionary tale about the responsibility that comes with such power. It emphasizes the importance of considering the consequences of innovation and the ethical dilemmas that scientific advancements can pose. As we continue to explore the mysteries of the universe and unlock new potentials, the lessons learned from this pivotal project remain relevant, urging us to balance progress with moral consideration. The Manhattan Project represents not just a significant chapter in the history of warfare and technology, but also a crucial point of reflection on our collective responsibility for the future. The Montauk Project is a fascinating conspiracy theory that has captivated the imaginations of many people. It centers around a series of alleged secret government experiments that took place at the Montauk Air Force Station in New York. According to various accounts, these experiments focused on time travel, mind control, and psychological manipulation, drawing connections to other well-known conspiracy theories, such as those surrounding Area 51 or the Philadelphia experiment. The story begins in the aftermath of World War II, when the U.S. government was keen on harnessing advanced technology for defense and research purposes. Rumors suggest that various military and scientific organizations worked together to investigate the limits of human potential. Over the years, several individuals have claimed that Montauk was the epicenter of these efforts, suggesting that the site was a hub for strange and unexplainable activities. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Montauk Project is the alleged time travel experiments. According to supporters of the theory, scientists at the base developed technology that enabled individuals to manipulate time and space. This allegedly included devices that could open portals to different eras, allowing people to travel back to witness historical events or even venture into the future. Imagine walking alongside dinosaurs in the Mesozoic era, or experiencing the signing of the Declaration of Independence firsthand. The very idea of traveling through time poses an enticing prospect for those patient enough to listen to the stories. Furthermore, some accounts suggest that the project was not just limited to time travel, but also involved mind control experiments. Supposedly, the U.S. government was interested in creating the ultimate soldier, someone who could be trained to carry out orders without question. Reports claim that researchers experimented with various techniques, including advanced psychological manipulation and electromagnetic fields to influence thoughts and behaviors. Hollywood has caught on to the allure of these theories as well. Numerous films and television shows have depicted similar concepts, often drawing inspiration from the mysterious aura surrounding the Montauk Project. Tales of alternate realities and government cover-ups have found a home in the realms of fiction, making it difficult to separate myth from reality. Some enthusiasts even claim connections between Montauk and popular science fiction works, suggesting that the project may have inspired elements of shows like Stranger Things, which features a secret government lab conducting bizarre experiments. As with many conspiracy theories, there are debates over the authenticity of the Montauk Project claims. Skeptics argue that there is no concrete evidence to support these extravagant stories. However, believers assert that the government has been able to cover up the truth, leading to an intriguing battle between belief and skepticism. Eyewitness accounts and testimonies often fuel the fire, with individuals claiming they were involved in these experiments or were affected by them in some way. Some of the more bizarre anecdotes from Montauk Project supporters suggest that the experiments resulted in unintended consequences. Stories abound of individuals who reportedly experienced strange phenomena after their alleged involvement, such as hearing voices, seeing visions, or possessing unusual skills. These claims sometimes resemble tales of classic science fiction, where technology interfaces with the mind, blurring the boundaries between reality and fantasy. The Montauk Air Base itself has a rich history, initially serving as a radar station during World War II. Following the war, it transitioned into a test facility, and many believe that its operational changes allowed for the alleged secretive experiments to take place. As the base was decommissioned in the early 1980s, a wave of speculation emerged, with many suggesting that the closing of the facility was merely a cover for the ongoing operations that remained hidden from the public eye. Among the narratives surrounding the project, one notable figure is Preston Nichols, who claims to have worked on the Montauk Project. His accounts, along with those of others, have sparked a number of books and documentaries dedicated to unraveling the mystery. Nichols asserts that at the heart of the Montauk Project was a desire to unlock hidden human potential, touching upon themes of could-be superhuman abilities, communication through thought, and other extraordinary powers. As the story of Montauk resonates through popular culture and conspiracy circles, it has also grown to encompass the spirit of inquiry. Questions arise about the ethics of scientific experimentation, the extent of governmental power, and the places where reality begins to blur with fiction. Whether you are a believer or a skeptic, the mystery of Montauk urges contemplation of the unknown and pushes the boundaries of our imagination. In the end, the Montauk Project serves as a reminder of humanity's enduring fascination with the mysterious. It challenges us to ponder the questions that may remain unresolved and explore the limits of what could exist beyond conventional understanding. This narrative continuously evolves as new voices join the conversation, leaving us to wonder about what the real story might be hidden below the surface of recorded history. The MK-Naomi Program was a covert project initiated by the CIA during the Cold War era, focusing on the development of biological warfare technologies. This program represents a fascinating and often unsettling chapter in the history of intelligence operations and military research. It was part of a larger series of initiatives, including the infamous MK-Ultra, which explored various methods of mind control and psychological manipulation. The origins of MK-Naomi can be traced back to the increasing concerns about biological threats during the Cold War. As tensions escalated between the United States and the Soviet Union, the possibility of chemical and biological warfare became a pressing issue. The CIA recognized the potential for using microorganisms and other biological agents as weapons, leading to the creation of MK-Naomi as a specialized program to address this concern. One of the primary objectives of the MK-Naomi program was to develop a range of vaccines and biological agents for use in covert operations. The CIA aimed to create agents that could incapacitate or eliminate adversaries without leaving a trace, making it an attractive option for intelligence operations where deniability was essential. The program researched various types of pathogens, including bacteria and viruses, exploring their potential use in warfare. To support these efforts, the CIA collaborated with several other government agencies, scientific institutions, and universities. This collaboration allowed for pooling of resources and expertise, which significantly accelerated research and development. The focus on biological warfare also led to advancements in understanding how pathogens function, how they could be weaponized, and what countermeasures would be necessary to protect U.S. personnel. The MK-Naomi program reportedly experimented with an array of biological agents, including those that cause diseases like anthrax and tularemia. These agents could potentially be deployed in a variety of ways, from aerosols to contaminating water supplies. The challenges of this aspect of the program were substantial. The scientists had to consider not just the efficacy of the agents, but also the environmental and human safety implications of their use. One notable aspect of MK-Naomi was its focus on how to deliver these biological agents discreetly. The program examined various methods of dissemination that would ensure efficiency and secrecy. For instance, disguised devices capable of releasing pathogens in specific areas were part of the research. This led to discussions around the ethical implications of using such technology in covert operations, raising concerns among scientists and officials involved in the project. While the MK-Naomi program was shrouded in secrecy, its existence exemplified the broader context of military and intelligence research during the Cold War. The program mirrored other efforts around the world to develop and understand biological weapons. However, ethical boundaries were often blurred, and the implications of such research were subjects of heated debate. The potential for biological warfare to cause large-scale suffering and devastation brought forth serious moral considerations that scientists, military personnel, and policymakers grappled with. Despite its classified nature, some aspects of MK-Naomi eventually came to light. Following public outcry over unethical research and military operations, increased scrutiny was placed on covert projects, and many documents related to MK-Naomi were declassified. This exposure highlighted a significant transformation in public trust regarding governmental operations. Citizens demanded greater transparency and accountability, altering the landscape of intelligence operations forever. As interest in biological warfare diminished in favor of other military technologies, the MK-Naomi program was eventually phased out. However, the legacy of this program and similar initiatives continued to influence discussions about bioweapons and their consequences. Advances in biotechnology and genetic engineering reignited debates around the use of biological agents, revealing a persistent tension between scientific advancement and ethical responsibility. Overall, the MK-Naomi program serves as a compelling study of the intersection between science, military interests, and ethical concerns. It raises questions that remain relevant today as nations navigate the complexities of warfare, public health, and technological capability. Through understanding initiatives like MK-Naomi, we gain insights into the historical context of biowarfare and the profound impact it may have had on national security policies, public health, and the ethical landscape of scientific research. The High-Frequency Active Aurora Research Program, commonly known as HAARP, is a scientific endeavor that has sparked a great deal of interest and debate since its inception. Located in Gakona, Alaska, this research facility was established in the early 1990s with a primary focus on studying the ionosphere. The ionosphere is a complex layer of the Earth's atmosphere, that extends from about 30 miles to over 600 miles above the surface, where charged particles influence radio wave propagation and communication systems. One of the main tools used in the HAARP project is a powerful array of antennas called the Ionospheric Research Instrument, designed to transmit high-frequency electromagnetic waves into the ionosphere. This interaction between the transmitted waves and the ionosphere allows scientists to investigate various phenomena, including how the ionosphere affects radio signals and satellite communications. For example, researchers can study how solar flares and cosmic rays impact the ionosphere, leading to disruptions that can affect everything from GPS navigation to radio broadcasting. In addition to its telecommunications research, HAARP has also been utilized to explore other aspects of the ionosphere, including its role in climate and weather patterns. Some theories suggest that changes in the ionosphere could potentially influence weather conditions on the ground. This idea has led to a flurry of speculation surrounding HAARP's capabilities, with various conspiracy theories suggesting that the facility could be used to manipulate weather. While these theories are largely unsubstantiated, they raise fascinating questions about the intricate relationship between the Earth's atmosphere and weather systems. Weather patterns are influenced by many factors, one of the most significant being the sun. Solar activity, such as solar winds and sunspots, can lead to variations in the Earth's magnetic field, which can, in turn, affect atmospheric conditions. The ionosphere plays a crucial role in this process, serving as a gateway for solar energy to interact with the Earth. Researchers at HAARP aim to understand these relationships better, contributing to a wider body of knowledge regarding atmospheric science. It is essential to clarify that the primary objective of HAARP is to study and understand the ionosphere, not to control the weather deliberately. While the technology developed through HAARP's research programs has various applications, including improving communication systems and enhancing our understanding of climate science, there is no credible evidence to support the idea that such technology could be used to create artificial weather patterns. HAARP's research extends beyond weather and communication. It also delves into understanding natural phenomena like auroras, those stunning lights that dance across the Arctic skies and are created when charged particles from the sun collide with gases in the atmosphere. By studying the ionosphere's properties, scientists can gain insights into these beautiful displays. The reasons auroras occur are intricately related to solar wind and the Earth's magnetic field, and facilities like HAARP help researchers witness and measure these phenomena in real time. Moreover, HAARP has implications for national security. The military recognizes the value of understanding the ionosphere for maintaining communication and navigation systems, especially during times of conflict or heightened tension. The ability to predict and respond to disturbances in the ionosphere can allow for more reliable military operations, making research in this domain critical. Another exciting aspect of HAARP is its exploration of the ionosphere's connection to global communication systems. As our world becomes increasingly interconnected through technology, understanding how radio waves travel through the ionosphere is crucial for ensuring stable communication networks. Researchers are examining the various ways in which the ionosphere can reflect and refract radio waves, potentially finding ways to enhance long-distance communication capabilities, which remain vital for everything from personal communication to international relations. The scientific community continues to study HAARP's findings, and its extensive data collection has also become a valuable resource for researchers worldwide. Collaborations with universities and organizations allow for the continued exploration of atmospheric science, pushing the boundaries of our understanding. Despite the controversies surrounding HAARP, it remains a cutting-edge research facility committed to advancing our knowledge of the Earth's atmosphere. The intersection of the ionosphere, solar activity, and weather dynamics presents numerous opportunities for discovery. By unraveling the mysteries of the ionosphere, scientists contribute to a broader understanding of environmental systems and their implications for life on Earth. As we continue to push the boundaries of knowledge about the Earth's atmosphere, HAARP serves as a focal point for cutting-edge research. It embodies the spirit of scientific inquiry, exploring the unknown, challenging assumptions, and paving the way for future innovations. The quest to understand whether elements of the natural world can be influenced or predicted remains an ongoing journey. Through the lens of HAARP, we catch a glimpse of the intricate tapestry of our planet's atmospheric phenomena, reminding us that nature holds more mysteries than we can ever hope to fully grasp. In conclusion, the HAARP experiment presents a remarkable opportunity for scientists to investigate the complexities of the ionosphere and its effects on communication and potential weather patterns. While speculation may swirl around its capacity, the foundation of its purpose is rooted deeply in scientific study, aiming to unlock secrets that have far-reaching implications for our understanding of the world around us. As research continues, who knows what further revelations await us in the shifting skies above. In the midst of the Cold War, a time filled with tension, curiosity, and a desire to gain any possible advantage, the United States government launched a captivating initiative known as Project Stargate. This program emerged as a response to the rising interest in psychic phenomena, particularly in relation to national security. The aim was to explore whether certain extraordinary abilities could provide intelligence and strategic benefits, giving the United States a step ahead in its intelligence efforts. The roots of Project Stargate can be traced back to the early 1970s, when the Central Intelligence Agency started funding research into unconventional means of gathering information, notably as evidence mounted that the Soviet Union was also investigating similar phenomena. Scientists believe that unexplained experiences such as clairvoyance, telepathy, and psychokinesis could be studied and perhaps harnessed for intelligence purposes. From the start, the idea was both intriguing and controversial, pushing the boundaries of scientific understanding and challenging the traditional views on the limits of the human mind. Central to this project was the utilization of remote viewing. This term referred to the practice of attempting to see and describe a distant or unseen target using only one's mind. Volunteers and trained individuals underwent rigorous training to develop their abilities. They would sit in controlled settings, often guided by a facilitator to aid their focus, and attempt to visualize locations, objects, or events thousands of miles away. This intriguing process raised many questions. Can the mind transcend the physical barriers of distance? Can it capture images and information that are otherwise inaccessible? One of the most notable figures in Project Stargate was Dr. Harold Puthoff, a physicist who significantly contributed to the research. Alongside his colleague Dr. Russell Targ, he conducted various experiments that aimed to establish scientific credibility in the field. They undertook investigations at the Stanford Research Institute, where many high-profile experiments took place. They found that some individuals displayed remarkable abilities, successfully providing details about locations and events they had no prior knowledge of. The researchers often documented these instances meticulously, trying to distinguish between genuine psychic phenomena and simple chance or guessing. As Project Stargate advanced, the strategies and methodologies regularly evolved. Feedback from military and intelligence personnel was constantly incorporated into the research process. The goal was not only to examine whether psychic phenomena existed, but also to discover how these abilities could be refined and applied for practical purposes. The military sought to glean strategic advantages that could be deployed in various scenarios, ranging from surveillance of enemy bases to locating missing persons, or even predicting potential threats. However, Project Stargate was not without its critics. Skeptics emerged from both scientific circles and the general public, questioning the validity of the claims made by participants. Critics argued that the experiments often lacked the rigorous standards of scientific controls. They explained that successes in remote viewing could often be attributed to coincidence, intuition, or known information, rather than actual psychic abilities. This skepticism led to heated debates over the viability of the project, which became a double-edged sword for the researchers involved. Despite the skepticism, the project continued to draw attention and financial support. It meant that individuals interested in the intersection between science and the paranormal kept investigating the boundaries of what people believed was possible. Workshops, training sessions, and retreats focused on enhancing these skills developed a community around the exploration of human potential that continued even beyond the official duration of the project. Towards the late 1990s, the official investigations and funding associated with Project Stargate began to wane. The balance of scientific scrutiny, practical applications, and belief in the concepts led to a gradual unfurling of the initiative's activities. In 1995, the program was officially closed, with government assessments suggesting that the results did not warrant continuation. Even after its closure, the legacy of Project Stargate lives on, igniting curiosity in both the scientific community and enthusiasts of the paranormal. Many individuals from various backgrounds have since continued exploring psychic phenomena, inspired by the possibilities once presented by the project. Books, documentaries, and discussions have kept the spirit of inquiry alive, emphasizing the idea that perhaps the human mind has untapped resources and capabilities that warrant further exploration and understanding, even in the strictest scientific contexts. As we traverse this complex realm of human potential, we open our minds to vast possibilities that lie beyond our current understanding. The examination of psychic phenomena is a testament to humanity's relentless pursuit of knowledge and the quest for discovery that characterizes our nature. Project Stargate reminds us of the endless curiosity that fuels the human experience, potentially offering glimpses into realms that stretch well beyond the conventional limits of science and philosophy. Gulf War Syndrome, a term that refers to a collection of chronic disorders, has become a topic of significant interest and concern for veterans who served during the Gulf War in the early 1990s. This syndrome can impact the physical and mental well-being of those who experienced it, leading to a variety of symptoms that can make everyday life challenging. The mystery surrounding this condition lies in its various manifestations and the speculative causes behind it. Veterans have reported a wide range of health issues, including fatigue, joint pain, headaches, memory problems, and respiratory difficulties. Some describe a constant feeling of unwellness, which can be frustrating and debilitating. While these symptoms may seem common in different illnesses, the unique combination and the timing of their emergence have drawn attention specifically to those who served in the Gulf region during Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm. One prominent hypothesis regarding the origins of Gulf War Syndrome centers on the exposure to environmental toxins. During the conflict, troops were potentially exposed to a variety of harmful substances. For instance, the burning oil wells released thick clouds of black smoke filled with pollutants. Soldiers working near these sites might have inhaled these toxic fumes, leading to long-term health implications. The effects of such exposure can sometimes take years to manifest, making it difficult to pinpoint a clear cause. Another area of speculation relates to the use of certain medications. In an effort to protect troops from potential biological and chemical attacks, military personnel were given various medications, including pyridostigmine bromide. While necessary, these drugs may have contributed to adverse health effects in some individuals, leading experts to consider their role in Gulf War Syndrome. Understanding the long-term effects of these medications requires further research, but they could indeed be implicated in the development of lasting health issues. Moreover, it is essential to consider the psychological factors that might be at play. Many veterans experience stressors unique to military service, such as the trauma of combat, the pressure of deployment, and the challenges faced during reintegration into civilian life. Conditions like post-traumatic stress disorder may give rise to physical symptoms that are part of the broader picture of Gulf War Syndrome. The intricate relationship between mental health and physical well-being is an area of growing interest in medical science. Additionally, other factors could contribute to the cluster of ailments known as Gulf War Syndrome. The combination of pre-existing health conditions, genetics, lifestyle choices, and environmental exposures creates a complex scenario. Everyone's body responds differently to stress and environmental factors, making it difficult to identify why some veterans develop these symptoms while others do not. Studies have shown that there is no single definitive diagnosis for Gulf War Syndrome. Instead, clinicians see a range of presentations, making it challenging to create a one-size-fits-all treatment approach. This has led many healthcare providers to adopt a more holistic view, addressing not just the physical symptoms, but also mental and emotional health. For many, finding a support network of fellow veterans can be invaluable, allowing them to share experiences and coping strategies. The government has also taken notice. Various programs have emerged aimed at understanding and addressing the health concerns of veterans affected by Gulf War Syndrome. Research continues to evolve, focusing on the biological, environmental, and psychological aspects of this condition. While progress has been made, much remains to be learned and understood. As interest in Gulf War Syndrome grows, the importance of awareness cannot be overstated. Ongoing research may hold keys to better treatments and support for veterans. Understanding the full scope of this disorder and its speculative causes could help drive future policies surrounding veteran healthcare. Additionally, fostering open conversations about health challenges among veterans is crucial in breaking down barriers to seeking help. Ultimately, Gulf War Syndrome serves as a reminder of the complexities of military service and its long-term effects on health. The experiences of those who served amid the heat and tensions of the Gulf may inform how future conflicts are approached, particularly regarding soldier health and well-being. While the puzzle of Gulf War syndrome is far from complete, each piece contributes to a greater understanding of the sacrifices made by those who served and the challenges they face long after leaving the battlefield. The journey to uncover the truth behind Gulf War syndrome is ongoing and highlights the need for compassion and support for all who have served in defense of their country. Unit 731 was a covert biological and chemical warfare research unit of the Imperial Japanese Army during World War II, infamous for its inhumane human experimentation. Established in 1936 in Harbin, Manchukuo, it was officially known as the Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification Department of the Kwantung Army. However, the activities conducted there would become a dark chapter in history, revealing the depths of cruelty and scientific ambition. The unit was founded under the command of General Shiro Ishii, a physician and microbiologist, who believed that biological warfare could be a decisive factor in warfare. Ishii and his associates sought to develop pathogens that could incapacitate or kill vast numbers of enemy combatants and civilians alike. They conducted extensive research on a variety of infectious diseases, including plague, anthrax, and cholera, using human subjects as their test cases. People were subjected to severe forms of experimentation without any consent or consideration for their well-being. This included the infamous vivisection, where living subjects were operated on without anesthesia to study the effects of diseases on the human body. Prisoners, primarily Chinese civilians and prisoners of war, were subjected to horrific procedures. Some were intentionally infected with diseases to observe the progress and symptoms of the infections. Others were exposed to extreme conditions to determine the survivability and effects of biological agents. One aspect of Unit 731's experiments involved frostbite and hypothermia methods. In chilling experiments, subjects had limbs frozen and then thawed to study the medical outcomes. Some would even have their limbs amputated under the guise of medical treatment, while others were subjected to extreme temperatures to examine the effects on the human body. These tests were both cruel and scientifically dubious, underscoring the unit's disregard for ethics and human life. Chemical warfare was also a significant focus for Unit 731. The unit tested various chemical agents, including mustard gas and phosgene, to assess their lethality and the effectiveness of countermeasures. This included experimenting with exposure to toxic gases on unsuspecting individuals, resulting in agonizing deaths or long-term health consequences for survivors. The knowledge gained here was intended to give Japan an edge over its adversaries in the war, allowing them to unleash these horrific weapons against enemy troops and civilian populations. Furthermore, the experiments conducted by Unit 731 were not conducted in isolation. The findings were shared with other military branches and scientists, leading to a broader application of biological warfare research. The unit collaborated with several other organizations within Japan, perpetuating a culture of secrecy and complicity. Even after Japan's defeat in 1945, many of the researchers went on to continue their work in other capacities, revealing the troubling persistence of wartime attitudes towards science and ethics. The aftermath of Unit 731 was not one of justice or accountability. Following the war, the United States government granted immunity to several key members of Unit 731 in exchange for the data gathered during the experiments. This led to a public outcry and accusations of a cover-up, as the atrocities committed had not been fully exposed or prosecuted. The evidence and knowledge about Unit 731 were buried amidst the chaos of post-war reconstruction, and many of those involved, including Ishii, lived out their lives free from the repercussions of their actions. In contrast to the trials held in Nuremberg for Nazi war criminals, which extensively documented their horrific human experimentation, the crimes of Unit 731 remained largely unpunished and unacknowledged for years. Survivors and victims' families were left to grapple with the lingering effects of the experiments, often without acknowledgement or compensation. The tragedies that unfolded in Unit 731 remain a poignant reminder of how military ambition can twist ethical boundaries, leading to unspeakable suffering. Today, the legacy of Unit 731 serves as an important historical lesson. It challenges us to reflect on the ethical implications of scientific research and the necessity of instituting safeguards to prevent such horrors from occurring again. The stories of the victims and the inhumane experiments they endured call upon us to remember and educate future generations about the dark side of human behavior when driven by ambition, power, and a blatant disregard for life. As discussions surrounding bioethics and military research continue to evolve, the history of Unit 731 highlights the need for vigilance in upholding ethical standards. It serves as a stark warning of the potential consequences when humanity's curiosity and desire for advancement override fundamental moral principles. Through remembrance and understanding, we can strive to ensure that the lessons of the past shape a more compassionate and humane future. The Tuskegee syphilis study stands as a pivotal and troubling chapter in the history of medical research in the United States. This study, conducted between 1932 and 1972, focused on understanding the natural progression of untreated syphilis in African American men. It serves as a stark reminder of the ethical responsibilities that medical researchers and institutions hold towards their participants. The study began with a specific objective: to observe the effects of syphilis when left untreated. The participants, nearly 400 African American men from Macon County, Alabama, were initially recruited under the guise of receiving free health care from the United States Public Health Service. This was during a time when many African Americans faced significant barriers to accessing medical care, so the offer of free treatment appeared appealing. However, the men were not informed of their diagnosis. In fact, when they were told they were receiving treatment for bad blood, a term widely used at the time to refer to a variety of ailments, they had no idea they had syphilis or that their condition was not being treated properly. Researchers actively withheld treatment, most notably penicillin, which had become widely available by the 1940s and was proven to be highly effective in curing syphilis. Instead, participants were told that they should continue to live their lives normally while researchers closely monitored their health. This allowed scientists to study the long-term effects of syphilis on the body, including the heart, brain, and other vital organs, but at a horrific cost to the men involved. The justification for the study was based on beliefs that African Americans were inherently different when it came to the progression of diseases. These racist notions allowed the researchers to continue their work without regard for the ethical implications of their methods. Ethical standards were sorely lacking, as informed consent was never obtained. The men were not informed of their condition, the study's true nature, or the potential risks they faced, which stands in stark contrast to the established principles of modern medical ethics. As the years progressed, more troubling elements emerged. The study's continuation became increasingly problematic, especially after World War II, when the efficacy of penicillin was recognized globally. Despite the available treatment, the researchers chose to keep the men ignorant and untreated. This negligence led to serious health complications for many participants, and it also had a ripple effect on the community, as the disease spread to their partners and children. The Tuskegee syphilis study was finally brought to public attention in 1972, when a whistleblower revealed the horrific details of what had been done in the name of science. This revelation prompted outrage across the nation and a profound reckoning in the medical community. The study was immediately stopped, and a public apology was issued by federal officials. In 1973, a joint congressional committee held hearings to investigate the matter, leading to a significant change in the ethical landscape of medical research. The study's legacy played a crucial role in the establishment of stricter guidelines for research involving human subjects. This included the need for informed consent, the establishment of institutional review boards, and the requirement of transparency in research, ensuring that participants are fully aware of the nature of the study and any risks involved. The Tuskegee syphilis study also had long-lasting repercussions on the African American community and their relationship with healthcare. Distrust towards medical institutions grew, and many African Americans became wary of participating in clinical trials and studies. This skepticism continues to echo today, influencing how communities engage with healthcare systems and the willingness to accept medical treatment. While it is essential to recognize the significant advancements in medical ethics that emerged from the fallout of the Tuskegee study, it is equally important to remember the individuals who suffered as a direct result of these unethical practices. Their stories highlight the need for ongoing discussions about ethics in research, transparency in medical practices, and the fundamental rights of all patients. The memory of the Tuskegee syphilis study serves as a solemn reminder of what can occur when scientific inquiry is pursued without moral consideration. It challenges researchers to approach their work with integrity, compassion, and an unwavering commitment to the well-being of all participants, regardless of their background. Only through acknowledging this chapter in history can we strive for a more just and equitable healthcare system, ensuring that such atrocities are never repeated. In the early 1960s, during the peak of the Cold War, tensions between the United States and Cuba were escalating rapidly. Fidel Castro's rise to power in Cuba and his alignment with the Soviet Union generated significant concern for U.S. national security. In this climate of fear and mistrust, an unusual proposal emerged within the highest ranks of the U.S. Department of Defense. This plan would come to be known as Operation Northwoods. Operation Northwoods was conceived as a series of covert operations designed to create a pretext for military intervention in Cuba. The idea was to fabricate incidents that would be portrayed as aggressive actions by the Cuban government. The ultimate goal was to galvanize public and political support for a direct U.S. military operation against Cuba, ultimately seeking to dislodge Castro's regime. The proposal included various drastic measures aimed at creating a chaotic atmosphere that would place the blame squarely on the Cuban government. Among the more controversial ideas was the suggestion of carrying out simulated attacks on U.S. military installations or even American civilians in Cuban territory. For instance, the plan detailed elaborate schemes where American planes could be hijacked or destroyed in a manner that would look like actions taken by Cuban authorities. One of the more infamous elements of the operation involved the idea of blowing up a U.S. ship in Guantanamo Bay and blaming it on the Cuban government. This action could be theatrical, designed to present a compelling narrative to the American public and other nations of the world, depicting the Cuban regime as a direct and imminent threat. These actions could easily serve to rally support not only domestically, but also from allied nations that may feel compelled to stand against aggression from Cuba. Another facet of Operation Northwoods suggested the fabrication of incidents involving Cuban refugees. This could entail creating false reports of Cuban attacks on fleeing immigrants, presenting them as tragic victims of a ruthless regime. Such reports could be disseminated widely, pressuring U.S. leaders to take decisive action against Cuba. By manipulating public perception, the plan sought to create a unified front against the Cuban government. The proposal was ultimately brought to the attention of President John F. Kennedy. However, when faced with the gravity of such operations and their ethical implications, Kennedy rejected the plan. The potential fallout from executing such deceptive operations could lead to widespread condemnation and a significant loss of credibility for the U.S. in the international arena. Operation Northwoods, although never implemented, remains a significant example of the lengths to which the U.S. government considered going in order to address perceived threats during a politically charged and dangerous period. It highlights the ongoing complexities of national security, public perception, and the ethical quandaries of government actions. The plan is sometimes cited as a cautionary tale regarding the influence of military priorities on foreign policy decisions. This proposed operation sheds light on not just the Cold War context, but the broader theme of how states can justify military interventions. It poses critical questions about the ethics of false flag operations and the ramifications of such strategies. Even decades later, it invites reflection on the role of truth and propaganda in international relations and the responsibility of leaders to their citizens and the world. The story of Operation Northwoods has become a focal point in discussions about government transparency and accountability. It continues to resonate in contemporary political discourse as questions of national security and the lengths to which a government might go are still very much alive. In examining Operation Northwoods, we see more than just a plan. It illustrates the precarious balance between security and morality, and how fear can sometimes drive leaders to contemplate drastic measures. It serves as a reminder of the importance of scrutiny in governmental actions, the need for a responsible media, and the role citizens play in demanding transparency and integrity from those in power. Ultimately, the legacy of Operation Northwoods is not merely about a single plan that was never put into action, but rather it reflects a broader historical narrative around military strategy, foreign relations, and the nature of power itself. By studying such episodes, we delve into the complexities of history and are reminded of the myriad factors that shape decisions made by those at the helm of government. Each decision not only impacts those immediately involved, but reverberates through history, influencing future opportunities and challenges on the global stage. During the dark chapter of history known as World War II, a series of events unfolded that would define the depths of human cruelty and the consequences of unchecked power. Among the most harrowing aspects of this period were the inhumane medical experiments performed on the prisoners of Nazi concentration camps. These experiments, often masked as medical research or development, showcased a profound disregard for the sanctity of human life. The groundwork for these experiments was laid in the early 1930s, driven by an ideology that prioritized the so-called Aryan race and viewed others as expendable. Once the Nazis solidified their grip on power, they established a network of concentration camps that served various functions, including forced labor and extermination. As the war progressed, these camps became a breeding ground for horrific medical experiments, as some doctors and scientists sought to advance their careers and support the regime's goals. One notable figure in this dark narrative was Dr. Josef Mengele, often referred to as the Angel of Death. Mengele conducted experiments at Auschwitz, where he subjected prisoners, especially twins, to a myriad of inhumane procedures. His fascination with genetics led him to conduct experiments aimed at understanding hereditary traits. Twins were often treated as a living laboratory. They endured invasive surgeries, injections, and other cruel tests without consent or anesthesia. The sheer brutality of these practices aimed to unveil the supposed secrets of life and death, while utterly disregarding the suffering inflicted on innocent victims. In addition to Mengele's notorious experiments, other camps witnessed different forms of inhumane medical research. Some experiments sought to explore the effects of extreme conditions, such as hypothermia and high-altitude sickness, simulating conditions that Nazi soldiers might face. Prisoners were subjected to freezing temperatures during cold winters and plunged into icy waters, all in a misguided attempt to enhance military survival techniques. The results, if any, were tainted with the ethical ramifications of the methods used. Another facet of these experiments included testing various pharmaceuticals. Inmates were administered drugs without any knowledge of their effects, often leading to severe side effects or death. The goal was frequently to evaluate the efficacy of drugs or to develop treatments for infections and diseases, yet the methods employed were horrifically unethical. Imagine a scenario where individuals were not treated as human beings, but rather as mere subjects for experimentation. Their pain and suffering were secondary to the perceived scientific advancement. In many cases, the experiments would result in extreme physical and psychological damage. Survivors often returned from these trials bearing scars that ran deeper than the skin. The long-term effects of such trauma have ripple effects across generations, as families have had to grapple with the psychological legacies left behind by their ancestors. The atrocities inflicted in the name of science serve as a stark reminder of a time when morality was abandoned in the name of ideology. After the war came to an end, the world was left to confront the horrifying realities of what had transpired. The Nuremberg trials sought justice for the atrocities committed, leading to the establishment of ethical standards for medical research. The Nuremberg Code emerged from these trials, serving as a foundation for informed consent and ethical treatment in research. This document emphasizes the importance of voluntary participation and the necessity of minimizing harm. While these experiments are a part of history that many would prefer to forget, it is crucial to remember and learn from the past. The stories of the victims serve as a powerful reminder of the resilience of the human spirit amid unimaginable suffering. The legacy of these atrocities continues to shape ethical standards in medical research and human rights advocacy today. Education and remembrance are vital in ensuring that such darkness does not repeat itself. By learning about the past, society can foster a greater understanding of the importance of dignity and respect for all individuals. It compels us to question the methods and motivations behind medical advancements and to advocate for ethical practices that prioritize the well-being of every person. In this way, the memory of those who suffered under the regime can inspire future generations to uphold the values of humanity, compassion, and accountability. It reminds us that while science and medicine can heal and advance, they must be propelled by ethical considerations that honor human life and dignity above all else. Through remembrance and education, we not only honor the victims, but also build a foundation for a more humane future, ensuring that the lessons learned guide us toward a path of empathy and ethical responsibility. The echoes of history serve as a constant reminder that the quest for knowledge must never come at the expense of compassion and humanity. Edgewood Arsenal, located in Maryland, played a significant role in the United States military's research and testing of chemical warfare agents, especially during the mid-20th century. Established during World War I, this facility became a focal point for studying the effects of various chemical agents on human subjects, often involving military personnel. The tests conducted here were systematic and designed to assess the impacts on health, performance, and overall well-being of soldiers who might come into contact with these agents on the battlefield. During the Cold War, the threat of chemical warfare became increasingly prominent. In response to this emerging concern, Edgewood Arsenal embarked on a series of experiments aimed at understanding how different chemicals, particularly nerve agents and blistering agents, affect the human body. Soldiers volunteered for these tests, often with the promise of additional pay or the allure of being part of a vital national defense initiative. The tests typically involved exposing personnel to various doses of chemical agents in controlled environments, while closely monitoring their physiological responses. One notable chemical warfare agent studied at Edgewood Arsenal was sarin, a potent nerve agent. Researchers aimed to evaluate how quickly it could take effect and the range of symptoms it would produce. Personnel participating in the tests wore protective gear that simulated actual combat conditions, allowing scientists to gather substantial data on the agent's effects and the efficacy of protective measures. Participants were often evaluated on various parameters, such as cognitive function, motor skills, and overall health post-exposure. Another area of research at Edgewood involved examining the long-term effects of exposure to chemical agents. Some individuals who participated in the tests reported lingering health issues, creating a significant concern regarding how such agents might affect service members in the long run. Studies included assessments of respiratory health, neurological function, and psychological impacts. This long-term data became invaluable in shaping how the military approached chemical warfare defense and the protective gear issued to soldiers. The ethical dimensions surrounding the experiments at Edgewood Arsenal also sparked considerable debate. Critics raised concerns about the informed consent of the soldiers involved in these tests. While many volunteers knew they were taking part in experimental procedures, some questioned whether they fully understood the potential risks associated with chemical exposure. This issue prompted discussions within military and scientific communities about the necessity of transparency and ethical practices in research involving human subjects. Despite the controversy, the information gleaned from the Edgewood tests significantly influenced military protocols regarding chemical warfare. The findings helped enhance training for soldiers on recognizing symptoms of chemical exposure and improved the development of personal protective equipment. As the knowledge gained from these experiments spread, it laid the groundwork for developing countermeasures and medical treatments for those affected by chemical agents. Over time, Edgewood Arsenal continued to evolve. The facility not only focused on testing chemicals, but also expanded its research to include biological agents and other non-conventional warfare techniques. The knowledge gained from Edgewood's extensive research has had lasting implications, shaping how current military operations prepare for and respond to potential chemical threats. Furthermore, Edgewood Arsenal itself has transitioned over the years, reflecting a change in military priorities and the public's view on chemical warfare. In the years following the Cold War, there was a shift towards international treaties and agreements aimed at eliminating chemical weapons, which changed the context and purpose of the research conducted at such facilities. Today, much of what was once taught and tested at Edgewood Arsenal informs current safety protocols and understanding of hazardous materials. The legacy of the tests highlights the importance of military preparedness and the ongoing discussions about the ethical responsibilities surrounding human research, particularly involving chemical and biological agents. As military technology continues to advance, the lessons learned from Edgewood Arsenal serve as a critical reminder of the delicate balance between scientific exploration and ethical responsibility. The knowledge acquired through these experiments not only prepared military personnel for the realities of war, but also fostered a greater awareness of the long-lasting effects such agents can have on human health and safety. Thus, the Edgewood Arsenal experiments represent a complex chapter in military history, showcasing the intricate relationship between scientific research, military strategy, and ethical considerations. As the world continues to grapple with the implications of chemical warfare, the findings from these historic tests offer valuable insights into both the dangers posed by such agents and the importance of rigorous ethical standards in research involving human participants. The impact of these studies remains deeply etched in the narratives of military history and public health policy, reminding us always to prioritize humanity in the pursuit of knowledge and defense. The world of aviation is filled with wonders and secrets, and one of the most intriguing tales comes from the shadowy realm of black projects. Among these mysterious programs, the rumored Black Project, known as Aurora, stands out as a beacon of speculation and fascination. The name Aurora has captured the imagination of enthusiasts and conspiracy theorists alike, hinting at advanced technology that promises to redefine the limits of flight. Aurora is said to be a highly classified aircraft developed by the United States government. Officially, the government has never confirmed Aurora's existence, fueling the fire of curiosity. This lack of confirmation only adds to the allure, as enthusiasts dig deeper to piece together fragmentary evidence and tantalizing eyewitness accounts. The origins of Aurora can be traced back to the post-Cold War era, a period characterized by rapid advancements in military technology and a heightened focus on stealth and speed. Rumors began to circulate in the late 1980s, suggesting that the United States had developed a new aircraft capable of incredible speeds and stealth features that could elude radar detection. Some reports claimed that Aurora could reach speeds upwards of Mach 6, 6 times the speed of sound, making it a potentially revolutionary vehicle for surveillance and combat missions. Those who have reported sightings of the Aurora often describe a sharp triangular shape, unlike typical aircraft. Witnesses have recounted experiences of seeing strange contrails in the sky or hearing loud sonic booms that seemed out of place. These accounts have led to discussions about the aircraft's possible capabilities. If it indeed exists, Aurora could utilize advanced technologies such as hypersonic flight and propellant-based systems that minimize heat signatures, allowing for clandestine operations. The technological advancements attributed to Aurora draw from various fields, including aerodynamics and material science. The design is said to incorporate innovations that make the aircraft exceptionally lightweight yet resilient. Additionally, the engines are rumored to utilize revolutionary propulsion systems, promising unparalleled power with reduced environmental impact. Speculation about Aurora has led to comparisons with other known aircraft, such as the State Route 71 Blackbird or the B-2 Spirit stealth bomber. Both of these aircraft achieved legendary status due to their impressive capabilities and secretive nature during their development and operational periods. However, Aurora's rumored abilities would push the envelope even further, blurring the line between traditional flight and cutting-edge aviation alternatives. The existence of a vehicle like Aurora would not only change military operations, but also have profound implications for global geopolitics. Imagine a world where surveillance can be conducted from a distance, monitoring activities in real time without ever being detected. Governments and defense agencies would have a strategic advantage like never before, potentially altering the balance of power across international borders. Despite all the speculation surrounding Aurora, one cannot ignore the importance of responsible discourse when it comes to defense and technology. The conversation about advanced military projects highlights the delicate balance of innovation and ethical considerations. Questions arise about transparency, accountability, and the potential consequences of powerful technologies in the hands of a few. In recent years, the conversation surrounding U.S. black projects has begun to evolve. As some formerly classified programs have been declassified, the public has gained insights into technologies that were once shrouded in secrecy. This transparency can lead to increased public interest and a desire to understand the mechanisms behind the projects that remain classified. In addition, defense and aerospace industries often collaborate with private companies and academia to push the boundaries of technology. The potential for innovation is immense, with partnerships resulting in breakthroughs that affect not just military applications, but also commercial aviation and even everyday technology. It is essential to recognize the role of public fascination with aircraft like Aurora in shaping our understanding of the future of aviation. Our desire to envision what lies beyond the horizon brings attention to the importance of innovation and keeping the spirit of exploration alive. While Aurora may remain an enigma for now, the allure of advanced technology stimulates dialogue, curiosity, and dreams of what is possible in the skies. As we embark on this journey of exploration and imagination, we can hold on to the hope that the discoveries of tomorrow will push us closer to mastering flight in ways we have yet to imagine. The story of Aurora, whether reality or myth, underscores humanity's insatiable quest for knowledge and our drive to conquer the sky. In the 1950s and 1960s, a clandestine operation known as Operation Midnight Climax was unfolding within the shadows of American society. This project, a part of the CIA's larger MK-Ultra program aimed at exploring mind control and drug effects, took a rather controversial and unconventional approach to its objectives. Let's delve into the intriguing yet troubling aspects of this operation, exploring its background, methods, and aftermath. Operation Midnight Climax was initiated by the CIA as a means of gathering more intelligence on possible mind control techniques, particularly through the use of drugs. At the time, the Cold War was heating up, and the agency was determined to find any advantage over foreign powers. This quest led to a wide-ranging series of experiments that would ultimately push ethical boundaries far beyond what we might consider acceptable today. One of the most bizarre aspects of this operation involves setting up safe houses in San Francisco and New York City. These locations were ingeniously disguised as bars, where unsuspecting patrons would be unwittingly caught in the web of experimentation. The CIA recruited sex workers to entice men into these safe houses, where they were monitored as they interacted, often under the influence of different psychoactive substances, without their knowledge. In these setups, the organizers would administer substances such as LSD to the unsuspecting participants. The intention was to observe and analyze sexual behavior in a controlled environment, as well as to see how these drugs affected interpersonal dynamics and decision-making processes. Imagine being in a bustling bar, feeling a sense of euphoria or perhaps disorientation, while the individuals around you were mere pawns in a wider game of espionage. The experimenters were not just interested in the drugs themselves, but were keen on understanding how sexual interactions could be manipulated under the influence of these substances. It was a bizarre blend of social science and psychological experimentation, all conducted without the consent of those involved. This raises significant ethical questions about the responsibility researchers hold when delving into sensitive areas like human sexuality and psychology. How far should one go in the pursuit of knowledge, and at what cost to human dignity and personal agency? As often happens with secret operations, the fruits of Operation Midnight Climax were largely classified, and many of the findings remain shrouded in mystery. Reports suggest that the CIA was not only interested in gathering intelligence on individuals, but also in attempting to uncover any information about Soviet or Chinese mind control techniques. Thinking about how far one would go for national security gives rise to a broader debate on the balance between collective safety and individual rights. Despite the operation's intriguing premises, there was a shift in public perception as the public began to uncover various shady undertakings by governmental bodies. The social turmoil of the 1960s, driven by movements against the Vietnam War and a growing demand for personal liberties, scrutinized these covert operations more than ever before. Reports of unethical experimentation surfaced, leading to a broader societal push for transparency and accountability in government actions. As we look back at Operation Midnight Climax, it becomes apparent that the intersection of science, ethics, and morality is a complex web to navigate. The actions taken during this operation challenge us to consider the implications of manipulating human behavior. The abuse of power and the lack of informed consent highlight the risks of prioritizing research over ethical responsibilities. The legacy of Operation Midnight Climax is still felt today, especially as discussions around the ethics of experimentation continue. Modern research, particularly in the fields of psychology and neuroscience, is overseen by strict ethical standards designed to protect individuals from similar abuses. In many ways, the secrecy and ethical lapses of such operations have paved the way for more robust safeguards today. Reflecting on this operation may provoke a myriad of thoughts about trust, authority, and the human experience. It serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of secretive governance, especially when they delve into the intimate facets of human life. The very notion of exploring the human psyche through drugs and manipulation, once taken to the extremes as seen in Midnight Climax, remains a deeply complex subject. As we journey through the extensive impacts of this project, consider how these historical events resonate in contemporary society. The balance between scientific exploration and ethical responsibility continues to challenge us. The stories of Operation Midnight Climax are linked not only to the fears and hopes of their time, but also to the ongoing quest for understanding in the fields of science, psychology, and human behavior. In the mid-20th century, the United States military undertook a series of experiments related to chemical dispersion, focusing specifically on a combination of zinc-cadmium sulfide. This chemical compound was selected for its properties and was used in various military research programs designed to study the dispersion patterns of aerosols. These experiments aimed to understand how agents might spread in the atmosphere under different conditions, which was significant during a time when concerns about chemical and biological warfare were prevalent. The decision to use zinc-cadmium sulfide for these tests was rooted in its visibility and safety profile when released into the atmosphere. It was a fluorescent material that could be easily tracked and observed, rendering it an ideal candidate for such experiments. The military wanted to monitor how airborne agents would disperse under various meteorological conditions, such as wind speed, humidity, and temperature. By doing so, the aim was to gather critical information that could potentially protect or inform military tactics in case of an attack involving chemical agents. Between the years of 1950 and 1965, several studies were conducted across different locations in the United States. For example, in bustling urban environments, researchers released zinc-cadmium sulfide to observe how these particles settled and moved through the air. In this way, they could gather data about atmospheric conditions and the behavior of the substances across different landscapes, ranging from urban centers to rural areas. One notable experiment took place in San Francisco during the early 1950s. Without public knowledge, the military dispersed a non-toxic cloud of the fluorescent material above the city. Observations focused on how the particles diffused through the atmosphere, maneuvered around buildings, and were affected by local weather patterns. Officials analyzed the data to understand how various environmental factors could influence the spread of airborne substances. Other tests were carried out in Minneapolis and St. Louis, where similar techniques were employed. In these instances, the military collaborated with local authorities, but kept the specific details of the experiments largely under wraps. The intention was to create a clear picture of how, and under what conditions, chemical agents could spread effectively. While these experiments yielded a wealth of information, they also raised many ethical questions regarding transparency, public safety, and consent. The choice of zinc-cadmium sulfide also raised concerns about environmental and health implications. Although the compound used in these studies was considered relatively safe in small quantities, the long-term effects of even low-level exposure were still uncertain. These factors contributed to public backlash as more information about the experiments began to surface in the years that followed. Individuals expressed concerns over being unwittingly exposed to chemicals that had not been fully assessed for safety regarding widespread application. Throughout the years, the military's use of zinc-cadmium sulfide became a topic of scrutiny. In the 1970s, government investigations into the practices revealed significant lapses in ethics regarding human exposure without informed consent. The repercussions of such findings prompted changes in research conduct, emphasizing the need for transparency and ethical considerations in military and governmental research protocols. While the studies conducted using zinc-cadmium sulfide provided valuable insights into dispersion patterns that could potentially help in defense strategies, they also illustrated the complexities and controversies associated with chemical research. The balance between advancing military strategies and ensuring the safety of civilian populations is delicate and requires extensive consideration in any ongoing endeavors involving chemical agents. The historical context surrounding these experimentations has since led to advancements in governmental oversight regarding public health and safety. Awareness of the potential implications of chemical dispersions has prompted regulations to protect citizens from unwarranted exposure to chemical agents. The legacy of the zinc-cadmium sulfide experiments contributes to the continuing discussions on ethics in research practices, particularly as they pertain to the field of military studies and the responsibilities of governments to their citizens. In conclusion, the experiments involving zinc-cadmium sulfide dispersal serve as a captivating example of how scientific advancement can intersect with military necessity. The implications of these studies reach far beyond their initial intentions, urging a broader discourse on ethics, responsibility, and public well-being in research. Through understanding the past, societies can work toward more conscientious practices in science and military protocols, ensuring that the lessons learned from history pave the way for positive, ethical advancements in the future. In the shadows of Cold War-era secrecy, a lesser-known program emerged, often overshadowed by its more infamous counterpart, MK-Ultra. This program, known as the MK-Delta program, aimed to explore the psychological manipulation of individuals as a means of political and military advantage. While many have heard of MK-Ultra and its often disturbing exploration of mind control, MK-Delta dives into an equally intriguing and complex realm of covert operations and governmental intrigue. The roots of the MK-Delta program can be traced back to the same era of paranoia and secrecy that characterized much of the CIA's activities in the mid-20th century. The program reportedly began in the 1950s, a reflective period during which the U.S. government aimed to leverage every conceivable advantage in the global landscape, especially against perceived threats from the Soviet Union. MK-Delta focused not only on experimentation at home, but also on international operations, seeking to understand how psychological tactics could influence foreign populations and adversaries. What set MK-Delta apart was its emphasis on operational applications as opposed to pure experimental psychology. While MK-Ultra was primarily concerned with the development and understanding of mind control techniques through controversial means, MK-Delta pursued practical applications of these theories. The project engaged with both psychological tactics and raw physical means, such as drugs and covert interventions, leading to a broad range of activities linked with assassination, misinformation, and the manipulation of public perception. The program's name, MK-Delta, was indicative of its operational focus. The MK prefix identified it with prior mind control projects, while Delta signified a shift towards more operational and field-focused activities. This included recruiting operatives and agents who could effectively implement the strategies devised within the program. Techniques ranged from psychological games to the use of pharmaceuticals designed to influence behaviors and decisions. One chilling aspect of MK-Delta was its connection to assassination methodologies. Documents suggest that the program sought to explore how psychological manipulation could be utilized to influence foreign leaders or essential figures, potentially diverting them from their intended actions or causing them to act against their interests. This was not merely an act of violence, but an attempt to bend the will of individuals in pivotal positions, thereby altering the course of political narratives. The program didn't solely rely on advanced drugs or psychological techniques. MK-Delta operators were trained in manipulation tactics that included disinformation campaigns, the alteration of social networks, and even the gradual shaping of cultural narratives. It was a holistic approach that recognized the power of perception as a tool in international relations. As with many classified programs, information on MK-Delta remains sparse. Declassifying documents reveal various details regarding testing and operational protocols, yet much of the program's implementation is hidden behind layers of secrecy. What we know suggests a complex interplay of intelligence operations, where psychology, cultural understanding, and military strategy intermingled, all under the umbrella of national security and Cold War dynamics. One fascinating facet of MK-Delta was its impact on contributing to the understanding of human behavior. It delved into what influences people, how ideologies can shift, and what triggers certain responses, making it a field of study that extends beyond mere control tactics. It raised pivotal questions about ethics, morality, and the consequences of wielding such power. Even today, the ripples of such clandestine programs present intriguing opportunities for inquiry and understanding of contemporary psychological operations in politics and warfare. The lessons learned within MK-Delta can be observed in various contexts, from social media strategies influencing public opinion to targeted messaging in political campaigns. Through its efforts, MK-Delta reminds us of the delicate line between influencing others and manipulating them for ulterior motives. Its existence underscores a reality where power dynamics, cultural narratives, and psychological strategies entwine. These actions serve as a historical case study on the lengths to which governments will go to secure their interests and the complex interplay of ethics involved in these pursuits. In the broader context of intelligence and military operations, MK-Delta reveals the darker undertones of the quest for control. It exemplifies a time when the ideals of freedom were often juxtaposed against the hidden machinations of power. Therefore, while MK-Ultra may have gained notoriety, MK-Delta stands as a testament to the complexities and moral ambiguities inherent in the operations of governmental agencies during tumultuous times. As we reflect on these covert endeavors, we can appreciate the intricate landscape of human behavior and the relentless pursuit of knowledge, both for good and ill. The legacy of MK-Delta compels us not only to ponder the techniques of control, but also to consider the broader implications of such actions and their potential to shape the world. Through understanding these past initiatives, we can navigate the contemporary realm more wisely, recognizing the potential for influence, manipulation, and the importance of safeguarding ethical standards in all pursuits of knowledge and power. Operation Teardrop was a hidden chapter in the story of World War II, unfolding in the turbulent waters off the east coast of the United States during the final years of the conflict. In 1945, as the war in Europe was drawing to a close, the Allies faced an unusual and severe threat: German U-boats. These submarines were a significant menace, posing a risk to cargo ships vital for the American war effort. It became evident that the Germans were intent on launching a series of operations aimed at disrupting supply lines and damaging morale. The roots of Operation Teardrop can be traced back to the changes in warfare technology and tactics. Submarines had evolved into sophisticated machines of war during the early years of the conflict, enabling them to attack supply ships and naval vessels with devastating effectiveness. The Germans, eager to regain their footing, saw the potential to turn the tide in their favor by launching attacks against merchant fleets along the eastern seaboard of the United States. In early 1945, intelligence reports began to emerge suggesting that German submarines were preparing for a direct assault on American waters. These reports indicated potential hostile actions that could severely disrupt American supply chains at a critical juncture in the war. As Allied forces pushed into Europe and the tide began to turn against the Axis powers, the sense of urgency grew with these undersea threats looming on the horizon. Operation Teardrop was initiated as a countermeasure aimed at tackling this submarine threat head-on. It represented a combination of naval strength and intelligence coordination, designed to find and neutralize German U-boats before they could strike. The mission involved various branches of the military, including the Navy, Army Air Forces, and Coast Guard, which collaborated in their efforts to protect the coast and ensure the safety of essential shipping lanes. One significant aspect of the operation was the utilization of advanced technology for that time. The development of sonar, radar, and aerial scouting techniques played an important role in locating the hidden submarines lurking beneath the waves. Allied forces employed a variety of vessels and aircraft, from massive destroyers to nimble patrol planes, to patrol the waters and hunt down these elusive threats. As the operation unfolded, a series of confrontations occurred between Allied forces and German submarines. These skirmishes were intense, with both sides aware of the high stakes involved. The Americans relied heavily on their reconnaissance aircraft to spot enemy submarines and direct naval units to their positions. The goal was to engage the enemy before they could carry out their nefarious missions of destruction. Throughout the operation, a significant focus was placed on coordination and communication. Intelligence officers worked tirelessly to analyze patterns and predict German movements, while naval commanders strategized about how to deploy their forces most effectively. This level of collaboration was crucial, as it enabled the United States to enhance their operational efficiency against the U-boat threat, which had haunted them for years. One of the notable events during Operation Teardrop occurred when the Allies detected several U-boats off the coast. With the information they gathered, a hastily assembled task force moved into action, confronting the enemy in a series of encounters that showcased the bravery and skill of the personnel involved. The tides of battle ebbed and flowed, with moments of success followed by the ever-present danger of counterattacks. The narrative of Operation Teardrop is not just one of military encounters. It also serves as a testament to the resilience of those who served during this tumultuous period. For the sailors, airmen, and support staff involved, each mission carried with it a sense of duty and patriotism. They knew that their efforts were part of a larger campaign to protect their homeland and ensure a stable post-war world. In the aftermath of Operation Teardrop, the results were classified, but the legacy of this mission resonates even today. It highlights the complexities of warfare, showcasing both the human element and the innovative technologies that define military operations. The operation also stands as a reminder of the importance of vigilance and preparedness, especially in the face of unexpected challenges. This forgotten mission reflects a chapter of history that is often overshadowed by more significant events. However, it played a crucial role in safeguarding the U.S. East Coast and contributed to the overall success of the Allied war effort. The courage and determination demonstrated by all those involved is a powerful reminder of the sacrifices made during a time when the world was engulfed in conflict. In the grand tapestry of World War II, Operation Teardrop represents not just a military strategy, but a profound human endeavor against the backdrop of fear and uncertainty. Its impact echoes through history, reminding us of the resilience of nations and the spirit of those who rise to the occasion in times of peril. This story serves as a tribute to the ongoing fight for peace and security, underscoring the importance of solidarity and determination, even amidst great adversity. Project MK was a lesser-known but significant operation conducted by the Central Intelligence Agency during the mid-20th century. It emerged in the context of the broader MK-Ultra program, which was an extensive series of experiments aimed at exploring mind control, psychological manipulation, and the effects of various substances on human behavior. MK often specifically focused on the study of behavioral effects induced by drugs, both in animals and humans. The origins of MK often can be traced back to a post-World War II era, when the United States was particularly interested in acquiring new techniques for interrogation and psychological operations. In the wake of the war, there were numerous fears about the potential use of mind control by adversarial nations, particularly in the context of the Cold War. This drove the CIA to invest heavily in research that could enhance its capabilities in this area. One aspect of MK often involved the use of a variety of chemical compounds, including hallucinogens, stimulants, and other psychoactive substances. The aim was to observe changes in behavior, cognition, and emotional response. Researchers were particularly interested in how these substances could potentially alter perceptions, influence decision-making, and even induce specific behavioral responses under various conditions. The experiments were not conducted in isolation, but were often designed to piggyback on existing research in psychology and pharmacology. Many tests took inspiration from already established knowledge in these fields, exploring how acute administration of substances affected mental states and physiological responses. Animal subjects played a crucial role in the early stages of the research. By observing changes in behavior patterns, movement, and social interactions, scientists could gather preliminary data that might predict the effects of drugs on humans. For instance, administering a compound to a group of rats might reveal insights into increased aggression or heightened anxiety, providing a basis for future human studies. As the project progressed, ethical considerations became increasingly relevant. While the initial drive for research was propelled by national security concerns, it soon became clear that understanding the long-term impacts of these substances was just as critical. This led to a more cautious approach, where additional focus was placed on the safety and well-being of human subjects involved in the studies. In a notable shift, project coordinators began making an effort to include thorough screening processes and consent protocols, a step not commonly seen in earlier experiments associated with MK-Ultra. This was a reflection of the growing awareness around the rights of research subjects, as well as the potential for abuse in psychological experimentation. During the course of MK, various types of experiments were conducted. Some studies involved administering psychoactive drugs to volunteers under controlled conditions, while others took place in more clandestine settings. Participants were often unaware of the true purpose of the studies, highlighting the ethical concerns that shadowed the entire operation. The findings from MK often contributed to a more nuanced understanding of the complexities of human behavior and the psychological effects of drugs. Researchers observed how certain substances could facilitate enhanced recall, alter perceptions of reality, or even bolster creativity in subject groups engaging in artistic activities. Throughout the project, the emphasis remained on the interplay between pharmacology and psychology, exploring how drugs could be utilized to control or influence individuals. This inquiry also intersected with sociological factors, as researchers sought to understand how environmental contexts impacted the effects and experiences of drug administration. The culmination of the findings from MK, alongside other MK-Ultra studies, raised significant questions about the implications of manipulating human psychology. The operational aspects and motivations behind these experiments often elicited strong public reactions, leading to later disclosures and a demand for greater transparency regarding government-funded research. MK thus stands as an intriguing chapter in the annals of intelligence operations. It reflects a complex intersection of scientific inquiry, ethical dilemmas, and the often murky motives of urgent national security needs. The investigation into behavioral effects of drugs encompassed not just a fascination with science, but a deeper quest for understanding the human condition itself. As the implications of these projects continue to ripple through discussions on ethics in science, behavioral studies, and government transparency, MK often remains a testament to the lengths to which agencies have gone to explore the intricacies of the mind, even as they navigated the stark realities of ethical accountability and human rights. The legacy of MK often serves as a reminder of the fundamental questions that arise when science intersects with power. How much should we delve into the unknown? What are the moral implications of such explorations? And ultimately, what is the line that should not be crossed in the pursuit of knowledge? These questions linger, urging us to reflect on the responsibility that comes with scientific research, especially when it seeks to investigate the very essence of what it means to be human. In the 1950s and 1960s, a secret program was implemented by the Federal Bureau of Investigation that came to be known as Cointelpro, short for Counterintelligence Program. This initiative aimed to surveil, infiltrate, and disrupt domestic political organizations deemed to be subversive or radical. While the program officially started in 1956, its roots can be traced back to earlier government efforts to control what was perceived as extremist political behavior. One notable aspect of Cointelpro was its focus on civil rights movements, a significant element of American society during this time. The FBI, under the leadership of J. Edgar Hoover, sought to monitor and undermine groups advocating for racial equality. Organizations like the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, led by Martin Luther King Jr., and the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee were subjected to surveillance and hostile tactics. Agents infiltrated these organizations, hoping to create distrust among members and disrupt their efforts. In addition to civil rights groups, Cointelpro targeted various activist movements, including those opposing the Vietnam War and certain feminist organizations. The FBI believed these groups posed a threat to national security. Their methods often included gathering intelligence on members, spreading disinformation, and even attempting to incite dissension amongst various factions. An example of the lengths the FBI went to is seen in the agency's effort to undermine the Black Panther Party, which was seen as a formidable force in advocating for African American rights. The tactics employed included playing rival groups against each other, issuing false statements about party leaders, and attempting to engage in acts that could lead to violence. One infamous tactic involved sending anonymous letters to leaders of these organizations, attempting to manipulate public perception or incite conflicts within their ranks. For instance, the FBI once sent a letter to Martin Luther King Jr., threatening to expose alleged personal misdeeds in an ongoing effort to discredit him. This insidious method aimed to not only tarnish the reputations of influential leaders, but also weaken the movements they represented. Cointelpro's tactics extended beyond civil rights movements. The program also targeted leftist political groups, including communist organizations. The FBI pursued individuals and groups considered dangerous to American values. One of the significant elements of this program was its willingness to operate outside the realm of legality and ethics. The line between legal surveillance and unlawful intervention was often blurred, as the FBI took it upon itself to determine which groups were deserving of special scrutiny. Public awareness of Cointelpro remained minimal for years. It wasn't until the early 1970s that its existence and operations came into the spotlight, largely due to the efforts of activists who uncovered documents revealing these covert actions. The release of information led to a public outcry, and many began to question the moral implications of such government-sanctioned operations. Investigations by Congress and various watchdog organizations followed, resulting in significant scrutiny of the FBI and its practices. As a consequence of the revelations surrounding Cointelpro, a clearer distinction was established regarding the limits of government surveillance. Legislative changes were introduced to ensure greater oversight and accountability of intelligence operations. The shockwaves of Cointelpro's legacy continue to be felt in discussions surrounding civil liberties, government power, and the right to protest in America. It's essential to understand the larger implications of Cointelpro in the context of American history. The program highlighted the tensions between individual freedoms and perceived national security needs. The fear of political dissent often led to a suppression of voices and movements advocating for change. This duality serves as a reminder of the ongoing struggle for civil rights and the protection of freedom of expression that lies at the heart of democratic society. In conclusion, the story of Cointelpro serves as a complex narrative of power, politics, and the struggle for justice. It provides insight into how governments can operate in the shadows to influence movements and manipulate public perception. Reflecting on this history invites a deeper understanding of the current dynamics between authority and activism, resonating with ongoing conversations about surveillance, civil liberties, and the role of citizens in shaping their own destinies. The legacy of Cointelpro continues to inform contemporary discussions about political engagement, making it a crucial chapter in the ongoing American story. In the early 1950s, the United States was deeply engrossed in the Cold War, a time when fear and tension between superpowers defined international relations. Amidst this atmosphere, military research took on new and often controversial forms. A particularly striking operation emerged called Operation Sea Spray, which unfolded over San Francisco Bay. Imagine a city known for its iconic Golden Gate Bridge and stunning views of the Pacific Ocean, bustling with residents and tourists. Now imagine this vibrant place being part of an unusual military experiment. In September 1950, U.S. Navy officials began Operation Sea Spray to investigate the potential risks posed by biological warfare. The goal was to understand how an enemy might utilize biological agents in a real-world scenario, particularly focusing on how these agents could spread among a population. The operation sought to evaluate the efficacy of a simulated biological agent. To this end, the Navy made a rather unexpected decision. They selected a harmless bacterium known as Bacillus globigii. This bacterium was chosen because it resembled certain biological agents in its ability to disperse in the air. The scientists behind Operation Sea Spray aimed to learn how far and wide an aerosolized agent could travel in a populated area to simulate the effects of a potential biological attack. On the designated day, Navy planes took to the skies above San Francisco, releasing millions of spores of Bacillus globigii into the air. Residents went about their daily lives, unaware that they were part of a significant military study. The bacterium was non-pathogenic, meaning it was not harmful to people or animals, but it was an effective model for studying how biological agents could be used by adversaries. After the operation, researchers tracked the spread of the spores across various locations of the city. They discovered interesting results, noting how environmental factors such as wind and humidity played crucial roles in how the bacterium distributed itself. This was valuable information for military planners who wanted to devise better defensive strategies against biological weapons, which many believed could be involved in future conflicts. Despite being harmless, the operation raised ethical concerns. As the decades rolled on, the implications of such experiments began to draw scrutiny. Citizens of San Francisco and others across the country grew increasingly aware of the lengths to which the military would go in the name of national security. Following the success of Operation Sea Spray, various similar operations were conducted in different locations, often without public knowledge or consent. People began to question the safety of living in a place where military experiments took place so close to civilian populations. In response to public outcry and increasing awareness around ethical standards for military testing, regulations surrounding human experimentation began to evolve. These new guidelines sought to protect civilian populations from experiments that could potentially endanger their health or safety. The realization that ordinary citizens could unwittingly become part of military experiments prompted dialogues around transparency and accountability, leading to significant changes in how military operations were conducted regarding biological agents. The story of Operation Sea Spray is a remarkable chapter in the history of military research, illustrating the complexities and often moral dilemmas posed by such experiments. Insights gained from the operation were instrumental in shaping thoughts around biological warfare, leading to more stringent protective measures for civilians in the years that followed. Today, as we reflect on Operation Sea Spray, we can see the dual nature of scientific research. On one hand, it can lead to significant advancements and help protect national security. On the other hand, the human element cannot be ignored, as it involves real lives and the potential for unforeseen consequences. Modern society strives to balance the pursuit of knowledge with ethical considerations, ensuring that the lessons learned from past operations guide future endeavors. As we navigate through various facets of history, it's essential to remain vigilant and ask the right questions. Understanding the past, like in the case of Operation Sea Spray, helps us carve a path forward, one that values human safety while seeking advancement in our understanding of complex fields such as biological warfare and public health. History teaches us the importance of transparency, consent, and ethical oversight in all areas of research, whether military or civilian. Thus, operations like Sea Spray serve as a reminder that every action has implications, shaping not only the present, but also the future of how we regard human rights in the name of progress. As we learn about the past, we build a foundation for a responsible approach to the challenges that lie ahead, ensuring that knowledge and safety go hand in hand. It's through these reflections that we can appreciate the delicate balance between innovation and ethics. Project Chatter was a fascinating and somewhat controversial program initiated by the U.S. Navy in the late 1940s. Its primary goal was to explore various methods of interrogation and potential ways to extract information from individuals. This program arose in the wake of World War II and the growing interest in psychological warfare. One of the key areas of focus for Project Chatter was the investigation of truth serums. These substances were thought to have the potential to make subjects more compliant during interrogation. The idea was that with the right chemical agent, a person might divulge information they would otherwise withhold. The Navy, alongside other branches of the military, was deeply interested in finding a more efficient way to obtain intelligence, especially in a time when the threat of espionage was prevalent. Researchers looked into various psychoactive drugs, including those derived from plants and chemical compounds that could alter a person's mental state. For instance, one substance of interest was sodium pentothal, commonly known as truth serum. This drug, a type of barbiturate, was believed to lower inhibitions and encourage the flow of information, making it easier to communicate under stressful conditions. Beyond the mere application of such drugs, Project Chatter sought to understand the psychological effects that these substances could have on an individual. The Navy collaborated with psychologists and pharmacologists to study how different drugs impacted personality, perception, and behavior. The intent was not just to use these substances during interrogations, but also to learn more about human psychology and how anxiety and fear might be reduced in high-stress scenarios. Additionally, the program did not limit its scope to just one or two substances. Researchers were interested in a wide variety of agents, including hallucinogens, stimulants, and sedatives. Each was examined for its potential benefits and drawbacks in interrogation settings. It was a time of great experimentation, where the boundaries between psychology and pharmacology began to blur. One striking aspect of Project Chatter was that it reflected a broader cultural fascination with mind control and the limits of free will. The post-war era was ripe with paranoia about espionage and brainwashing, particularly influenced by the Cold War that was just beginning to take shape. This cultural backdrop made the Navy's interest in substances that could manipulate consciousness even more significant, creating a perception that the ability to control thought processes could be a powerful tool in national security. Throughout its existence, Project Chatter also traversed ethical boundaries, leading to intense debates about the morality of using drugs for interrogation. Questions were raised about consent and the potential for abuse. What does it mean for someone to have their will overridden by chemical means? Would the information gathered under such conditions even be reliable, or could it be just as easily manipulated by the drug's effects? The research and findings from Project Chatter were not confined to military applications alone. The insights gained from these investigations had ramifications in various fields, including law enforcement, psychology, and even pharmacology. The legacy of Project Chatter created ripples in how societies understand the mind and the manipulation of behavior, leading to ongoing conversations about ethics and responsibility in the application of psychological research. As the program evolved, it sparked further investigations into the possibilities of other techniques and technologies for interrogation. The quest for more information and understanding caused researchers to explore beyond pharmaceuticals, diving into the realms of psychological conditioning and even hypnosis. Each avenue was pursued with the intention of uncovering the most effective means of acquiring critical information, all while navigating the complex landscape of human rights and ethics. The lessons learned from Project Chatter still echo in discussions about interrogation practices today. Although many of the methods and substances explored are no longer regarded as acceptable, the goal of uncovering truths about human behavior remains relevant. Researchers continue to delve into how various factors affect decision-making and how stress impacts cognitive function. The search for understanding human motivation and thought processes continues, building upon the foundation laid by early initiatives like Project Chatter. In conclusion, Project Chatter serves as a compelling chapter in the intersection of psychology, pharmacology, and national security. Its exploration of truth serums and psychoactive drugs reflects a significant era where curiosity about the human mind was met with a determination to harness that understanding for practical purposes. While it led to many questions about ethics and effectiveness, the legacy of such research continues to influence multiple fields today, reminding us of the delicate balance between knowledge and morality. Operation Big City was a little-known, yet profound chapter in the history of urban experimentation and public health. Initiated during the 1950s and 1960s, this clandestine operation was a part of a broader strategy employed by the CIA to understand and manipulate urban environments. The agency undertook a series of controversial tests involving the release of specific pollutants in urban areas. The objective was to study the impact of these substances on both the environment and the populations living within these cities. Imagine a bustling cityscape filled with busy streets, towering buildings, and densely packed neighborhoods. This was the backdrop against which Operation Big City unfolded. The testers aimed to monitor how certain pollutants would disperse in these complex urban environments. By focusing on large metropolitan areas, they sought to gather data on how different materials reacted with the landscape, the atmosphere, and the day-to-day lives of the residents. The operation initially involved the aerosol release of substances like zinc, cadmium sulfide. This particular compound was used because of its visibility and the ease with which it could be dispersed throughout different layers of the atmosphere. The agents employed planes to release the chemicals, allowing these agents to scatter over inhabited regions. The hope was that this would create an opportunity to study the pollutants' movement through the air, their interaction with environmental elements, and their impact on human health. As these substances settled over urban neighborhoods, researchers observed everything from respiratory issues to ecological effects. The cities chosen for these experiments included some of the largest and most densely populated areas, where the interaction between human life and industrial activity was particularly notable. These tests were conducted during a time when urban development was booming in the United States, and the implications of the outcome were far-reaching. In cities like New York, Chicago, and San Francisco, the operations caught the attention of local communities, yet few were aware of the actual nature of the experiments. Residents continued their daily routines, unaware that they were unwitting participants in a study designed to assess the pollutants' effects on urban living. This raised ethical questions that ripple through to the present day regarding the extent to which government agencies should be allowed to experiment on their own citizens without transparent communication. The collateral findings from Operation Big City were astonishing. Urban planners and health officials learned how certain pollutants could affect not just individual health, but broader public health trends over time. They noted correlations between increased pollution levels and spikes in asthma, other respiratory diseases, and even mortality rates among the most affected neighborhoods. These findings sparked debates about environmental justice and the responsibility of government entities to safeguard the health of their citizens. Furthermore, the operation inadvertently contributed to the growing environmental movement. The public's understanding of the interplay between urban pollution and health catalyzed a wider discussion about environmental regulations and the need for industry accountability. Activists began to demand clearer guidelines on pollutant emissions and improved public health standards, which ultimately led to significant policy changes. As the years passed and Operation Big City became less of a secret, it became a telling example of the unforeseen consequences of government experiments. The data collected contributed to various studies that sought to address pollution control measures and urban health strategies. The legacy of these experiments filtered into public policy, influencing legislation that prioritized air quality and environmental protections, laying the groundwork for modern environmental regulations. In exploring Operation Big City, we uncover a cautionary tale about the intersection of experimentation, urban living, and public health. This operation highlights the importance of ethical considerations in research, particularly when it involves the general public. The fallout from such tests ultimately led to a societal shift in how we view pollution and its impacts, encouraging more transparency and responsibility from institutions. While the intricacies of these operations may fade into the background of history, their influence persists. The stories of those who lived in these cities during these operations remind us of the crucial balance needed between progress and protection. As urban areas continue to expand and evolve, the lessons learned from the observations gathered during Operation Big City serve as a reminder of our collective responsibility to prioritize health, safety, and transparency in the face of experimentation. The Sunshine Project controversy sheds light on a murky and often unsettling chapter in the history of government-sponsored experiments involving radioactive agents on human subjects. This narrative, dating back to the mid-20th century, raises significant ethical questions and evokes a profound sense of responsibility regarding the treatment of individuals in the name of scientific advancement. In the aftermath of World War II, the United States government embarked on various research initiatives aimed at understanding the effects of radiation on human biology, ostensibly to develop preventative measures and treatments for radiation exposure. One of the most controversial undertakings during this period was conducted under the auspices of projects like Operation Plumbob, among others, which involved detonation of nuclear devices. However, there were also covert experiments conducted on unwitting citizens, often in collaboration with medical personnel and academic institutions. One of the core issues at the heart of the Sunshine Project controversy is the morality surrounding informed consent. Many individuals were exposed to radioactive materials without their knowledge or consent, often in conditions that violated ethical standards that should have protected human subjects. For instance, there are documented instances where military personnel, hospital patients, and even mentally ill subjects were subjected to radiation exposure as part of experiments designed to assess the effects of nuclear fallout or to determine the safety of radiation treatments. Consider the case of the human guinea pigs. These individuals were often from marginalized communities, the economically disadvantaged, or those unable to fully advocate for their own rights. The juxtaposition of scientific pursuit against the rights of these individuals raises questions about social justice and equity. Were the benefits of the research worth the risks taken by these individuals, and who is responsible when the outcomes deviate from the promised safety? As revelations about these experiments trickled out over the years, the Sunshine Project emerged as a vocal entity in holding the government accountable. Founded in 2000, the organization aimed to document, investigate, and publicize incidents involving government-sponsored radiological experiments, particularly those that violated ethical norms. They sought to bring transparency to the processes that had historically operated in secrecy, emphasizing the need for accountability to the affected individuals and their families. Furthermore, the Sunshine Project controversy also points to the broader implications of government secrecy and the manipulation of information about public health and safety. The government's efforts to obscure details of these experiments have fueled distrust among citizens, raising valid concerns about how information is managed, communicated, and utilized in the name of national security or scientific advancement. In discussing the Sunshine Project, it is essential to highlight the lessons learned from this period of experimentation. They serve as a poignant reminder of the need for rigorous ethical standards and the protection of human rights in research. This echoes in contemporary debates surrounding clinical trials and the ethical treatments of participants. The history of the Sunshine Project underscores the importance of ensuring that subjects are fully informed, their participation is voluntary, and they are treated with dignity and respect. Exploration of government-sanctioned experiments involving radioactive materials also serves as a lens through which to examine the relationship between science, ethics, and societal trust. When the boundaries of ethical research are crossed, it can have lasting repercussions on public trust in scientific institutions. It serves as a cautionary tale for scientists and policymakers to remember that the pursuit of knowledge must always be balanced with moral responsibility. The Sunshine Project and the controversies that surround it reflect ongoing struggles over transparency, accountability, and human rights in research. The historical context evokes an urgent conversation about how society engages with science while safeguarding its moral obligations. Recognizing the past can lead to a future where individuals are protected and valued, rather than treated as expendable components in the quest for knowledge. It is crucial to engage in open dialogues about the legacy of such experiments. This involves collectively acknowledging the injustices that occurred and striving to create systems where ethical practices are paramount. This paradigm shift is necessary not just for researchers, but for anyone involved in decision-making processes that affect communities. Only then can we move forward with a commitment to ethical principles that honor human dignity and the value of every individual. In summary, the Sunshine Project controversy is more than a historical account of unethical experiments. It is an invitation to reflect on our values. It challenges us to consider the balance between scientific inquiry and ethical responsibility. As we delve into the complexities of governmental research practices, may we remain vigilant in advocating for transparency, accountability, and respect for human rights in all avenues of scientific exploration. In the early years of the Cold War, as tensions escalated between the United States and the Soviet Union, both nations sought to demonstrate their technological prowess and military strength. During this intense period, one of the more unusual and secretive projects undertaken by the United States was known as Project A-119. This ambitious plan aimed to detonate a nuclear device on the moon not for military advantage, but as a display of capability and power. The idea for Project A-119 emerged in the late 1950s, a time when the United States was reeling from the shock of the Soviet Union's successful launch of Sputnik, the first artificial satellite. This event spurred a sense of urgency in the United States to assert its strength in space exploration and technology. Project A-119 was one such endeavor that was envisioned as a show of force that would captivate the world's attention and reaffirm American superiority in the space race. The project was led by a team of scientists at the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, where nuclear weapons research was taking place. The concept was relatively straightforward. A nuclear device would be sent to the moon and detonated in a controlled manner. The explosion would create a spectacular light show visible from Earth and serve to underscore American technological capabilities at a time when the threat of nuclear conflict loomed large. As the project progressed through initial planning stages, several intriguing aspects emerged. The concept included an array of scientific inquiries that encompassed geological studies. By detonating a nuclear device on the lunar surface, researchers hoped to learn more about the moon's composition and geological history. The explosion would send lunar dust and debris into the atmosphere, which could then be analyzed to provide insights that would aid future lunar exploration. In addition to the scientific motivations, there was a psychological dimension to the project. A successful nuclear detonation on the moon could send a powerful message to the international community, particularly to the Soviet Union. It would symbolize not only military capability, but also technological ingenuity and innovation. The imagery of a mushroom cloud on the lunar surface would be seen as striking, an unforgettable vision demonstrating America's strength. Despite the ambitious aims and potential benefits of Project A119, it faced significant challenges and ethical questions. As discussions unfolded, concerns were raised about the implications of detonating a nuclear device on another celestial body. The prospect of nuclear fallout and contamination on the moon posed environmental and ethical dilemmas that required careful consideration. Scientists and policymakers began to debate whether the benefits of such a display outweighed the potential risks and moral implications. Moreover, as the 1960s approached, other developments in space exploration began to shift political priorities. With the successful launch of further missions such as the Mercury and Gemini programs, public attention and investment began to pivot towards more productive and peaceful space exploration rather than explosive displays of might. This change in focus eventually led to the cancellation of Project A119. The idea of detonating a nuclear weapon on the moon became a subject of speculation and intrigue, overshadowed by the unfolding events in the space race. In the years since Project A119, the story has taken on a sense of both historical importance and absurdity. It illustrates the relentless ambitions of the Cold War, where the potential for technological triumph often coexisted with profound ethical dilemmas. The project remains a fascinating reminder of an era defined by competition, fear, and innovation. Today, as humanity continues to explore the cosmos, we reflect on the contrasts of our ambitions. Instead of project plans laden with militaristic aims, we are observing international cooperation on initiatives such as the Artemis program, aiming to land humans back on the moon and establish sustainable exploration. While the history of Project A119 is not widely known, it offers a glimpse into the complex motivations that driven the space race, capturing a moment where human imagination teetered on the edge of grand aspirations and darker intentions. As we watch our advancements in space technology now, it is notable to think about how far we have come since those early days. Today, the moon is viewed as a potential platform for scientific discovery and international collaboration. Instead of showcasing military might, we are envisioning future missions that emphasize research, sustainability, and unity among nations. The tale of Project A119, although never realized, serves as a chapter in our shared human narrative, one that reminds us of the importance of making wise choices about how we engage with the universe and with one another. It's a story that continues to resonate, encouraging creativity, wonder, and responsibility in the ongoing voyage of discovery beyond our home planet. In reflecting on this unusual project, we can appreciate not just the advancements in our capabilities, but also the enduring quest for peace and knowledge that defines our greater journey among the stars. Project Camelot was a research endeavor initiated by the United States Army in the 1960s, intended to understand and predict political behavior in different countries. The project aimed to utilize social science techniques to assess the potential for political instability and to influence outcomes in various international contexts. This initiative reflected a growing interest in applying the methods of social science, particularly sociology and psychology, to military and political strategies during the Cold War. The controversy surrounding Project Camelot arose from its underlying philosophy and ethical implications. The project was envisioned as a comprehensive study that would explore the dynamics of political systems, social structures, and the behavior of individuals within those frameworks. Researchers sought to gather data that would help the U.S. military and government anticipate crises and develop strategies to promote stability or intervention when necessary. The very idea of employing social science to predict political situations sparked discussions about the role of academia and researchers in military agendas. In its quest to understand societal dynamics, Project Camelot aimed to build models of political behavior that could allow military planners to assess the likelihood of conflict or support for various regimes. This ambition, however, raised ethical questions. Critics argued that using social science research to guide military policy could lead to manipulation and exploitation of societies, treating people as mere data points rather than valuing their lived experiences. For many academics, the thought of collaborating with the military raised red flags about the potential misuse of research findings and the integrity of their work. Moreover, concerns about informed consent and the potential for covert operations fueled the fire of opposition. Researchers involved in social science projects often wish to maintain their objectivity and independence from governmental influences. Collaborating with the military, particularly on issues that could impact foreign populations, posed a serious ethical dilemma. The fear was that findings derived from such research might fundamentally alter communities and societies without consideration of the implications for the people involved. As the project gained attention, backlash emerged not just from activists and policy critics, but also from within the academic community itself. Scholars and researchers voiced fears that the government's intentions could distort the goals of social research. The very nature of Camelot's objectives seemed to challenge the foundational principles of social science, which emphasized understanding context, culture, and human agency. Many argued that social scientists should not become instruments of statecraft, as the risks associated with this partnership could compromise the integrity and purpose of academic inquiry. Despite the controversy, Project Camelot did produce a significant amount of data and analysis related to political instability, societal change, and the complex relationships between different groups within nations. The research attempts delved into the connections between economic status, political participation, and social cohesion. This body of work contributed to some understanding of how various factors could influence political movements or unrest. However, the growing criticism and revelations about the project's military connections ultimately led to its decline. By the late 1960s, the project was officially terminated, but discussions about the ethical implications of such military-academic collaborations persisted. Scholars began to advocate for clearer boundaries between social science research and military purposes, promoting transparency and ethical guidelines that would safeguard the integrity of academic practices. In considering the legacy of Project Camelot, it becomes evident how complex the interaction between military objectives and social science research can be. The initiative serves as a powerful case study, highlighting the risks of politicizing academia and the necessity of maintaining ethical standards. As societies around the globe navigate the challenges of democracy and governance, the lessons learned from Camelot encourage ongoing reflection about the responsibility of researchers and the impact their work can have on people's lives. Ultimately, the Project Camelot controversy emphasizes the need for ongoing dialogue regarding the role of social sciences in governmental frameworks, particularly in contexts where the stakes are high and the implications are far-reaching. Today, as we grapple with similar questions in various fields, this historical moment reminds us of the weight of our ethical responsibilities as scholars and practitioners. The balance between knowledge creation and the potential for its application in shaping societies requires careful navigation and a commitment to values that prioritize human dignity and societal well-being. Operation Gladio refers to a series of covert military operations and secret stay-behind armies established by NATO during the Cold War. These operations were designed to counter potential Soviet invasions of Western European countries. The name Gladio stems from the Italian word for sword, symbolizing the readiness and determination of these clandestine networks to defend Western democracy. In the aftermath of World War II, tensions between the East and West escalated significantly. The Soviet Union posed a formidable threat to Europe, raising fears of a potential invasion that could spread communism throughout the continent. In response, NATO aimed to create a secretive strategy to resist any encroachments from the East. The concept was straightforward. If a Soviet invasion occurred, these stay-behind units would mobilize to conduct sabotage, gather intelligence, and support resistance efforts. The creation of these cells varied by country, but they typically consisted of veterans, former military personnel, and civilians who were loyal to their nations and aligned with anti-communist ideologies. Training camps were established to prepare these operatives, who honed their skills in guerrilla warfare, intelligence operations, and survival tactics. The goal was to cultivate an organized resistance that could act independently to disrupt Soviet operations, maintain national integrity, and work in coordination with NATO forces. One of the key aspects of Operation Gladio was its secrecy. The existence of these operations was often concealed from the public and even from many within the government and military structures of participating nations. This shroud of secrecy was deemed necessary not only for operational integrity, but also to mitigate any political backlash that might arise from the realization that NATO was preparing for unconventional warfare. Operation Gladio's implications extended beyond military operations. It intertwined with domestic politics as far-right groups in Italy and other countries allegedly collaborated with the clandestine networks. This aspect has led to claims that Gladio was involved in various political manipulations and violent incidents, blurring the lines between necessary defense measures and potential abuses of power. Potentially one of the most controversial elements of Operation Gladio was the involvement of intelligence agencies, including the CIA, which provided funding, training, and support to these clandestine operations. The collaboration hints at a broader Western strategy, where the United States aimed to combat communism not only through conventional military means, but also through subversive tactics. While NATO sought to unify Europe against a common enemy, the covert nature of these operations raised significant ethical concerns, bringing into question the lengths to which governments were willing to go to preserve order and democratic values. The existence of Operation Gladio came to light in the early 1990s, leading to public outrage and investigations in various European countries. It raises provocative questions about state sovereignty, democratic principles, and the relationship between government secrecy and national security. While the Cold War has ended, and the geopolitical landscape has changed dramatically, the legacy of Operation Gladio continues to evoke debates on the moral implications of clandestine operations and the balance of power within national frameworks. As Cold War tensions eased, many of the stay-behind networks began to dissolve or repurpose themselves. The fears of communism receded, but the lessons learned from this era persist. Operation Gladio serves as a historical case study in how governments approach the threats they face, how they navigate the murky waters of secrecy and transparency, and how the struggle for power can lead to unexpected consequences. The narrative of Operation Gladio highlights not just the military strategies of the past, but also the complexity of international relations and national security. It offers a lens through which one can examine the delicate balance between preparedness and ethical governance. Its lessons resound in contemporary discussions about the levels of surveillance, the nature of warfare, and the ways in which nations protect their values against perceived threats. Through understanding such operations, we can appreciate the nuances in modern geopolitical strategies and the persistent need for vigilance in a world that continues to evolve. The Cold War may be over, but the dialogue about how nations respond to potential threats remains ever relevant. Exploring these themes not only increases awareness of historical contexts, but also encourages critical thinking about current global dynamics and security policies. In the end, the story of Operation Gladio is about resilience, strategy, and the ongoing quest for stability in a complex and often unpredictable world. Its legacy serves as a reminder of the past and a predictor of the choices that societies must make in their pursuit of peace and security in an ever-changing global landscape. Project Stormfury was an innovative and ambitious program undertaken by the U.S. government in the 1960s and 1970s, aimed at understanding and ultimately influencing the destructive forces of hurricanes. During this time, scientists were both fascinated by the power of storms and deeply concerned about the devastation they could cause. Hurricanes result from a complex interplay of atmospheric, oceanic, and climatic factors, and they have the potential to wreak havoc on coastal cities, agriculture, and ecosystems. As hurricanes grew in intensity, it became apparent that finding ways to mitigate their impact could be life-changing for many communities. Project Stormfury emerged as a groundbreaking initiative designed to explore the possibility of weakening hurricanes through cloud seeding. This process involves dispersing substances into the atmosphere that can encourage cloud formation and precipitation, with the idea that these interventions could disrupt the typical development of a hurricane. The project began in earnest in 1962 when researchers launched a series of experiments aimed at testing the hypothesis that certain interventions could indeed diminish storm strength. The primary focus was on the use of silver iodide, a chemical compound often used in cloud seeding plants. Silver iodide serves as an effective nucleating agent, which means it provides a surface for water vapor to condense upon, leading to cloud formation and eventually rainfall. The goal was to modify a hurricane's structure and reduce its wind speeds, which could lessen its destructive potential. The scientists behind Project Stormfury selected specific hurricanes for their experiments. For instance, in 1963, they targeted Hurricane Beulah, which was wreaking havoc in the Gulf of Mexico. Through aerial sorties, planes released silver iodide into the storm system with the hope that this intervention would induce rain in the hurricane's eyewall, the most damaging part of a storm. The theory suggested that increasing rainfall could cool the air and weaken the storm's winds, resulting in a less powerful hurricane. Initial results from these early tests were encouraging. Some observations indicated that hurricanes might indeed respond to cloud seeding. For instance, the scientists noticed alterations in hurricane patterns and wind speeds after seeding operations were conducted. However, definitive data that confirmed success was elusive, leading to questions about the effectiveness of cloud seeding as a hurricane management strategy. As the project progressed, researchers continued to refine their methods and techniques. They conducted multiple experiments, monitoring the storms over several years. However, the scientific community remained divided on the efficacy of the project. Some believed that the variables in hurricane development were too complex and unpredictable to be manipulated effectively. Others pointed out the ethical concerns of intervening in natural weather patterns. Project Stormfury faced a turning point in the late 1970s. The program was forced to confront the realities of an evolving understanding of hurricanes, as well as scientific and operational limitations. The advancements in technology and satellite imagery significantly improved the ability to track and predict hurricanes, leading to better preparedness for such storms without the need for chemical interventions. By the 1980s, after nearly 2 decades of research, Project Stormfury was officially discontinued. Scientists acknowledged that while the lessons learned from the project were invaluable, a practical approach to hurricane modification through cloud seeding had not been achieved. Despite this, the knowledge gained contributed to advancements in meteorology, improving hurricane forecasting, and enhancing educational initiatives around storm preparedness. The legacy of Project Stormfury endures today as a reminder of the quest to understand and manage nature's forces. It highlights both the potential of science to innovate and adapt, and the need to approach environmental interventions with caution. For those interested in hurricanes, climate science, and environmental management, the story of Project Stormfury serves as an important chapter in the ongoing dialogue about the balance between humankind's actions and the natural world. In conclusion, Project Stormfury attempted to grapple with the monumental challenges posed by hurricanes through cloud seeding and atmospheric intervention. Although it ultimately did not deliver the success that its proponents had hoped for, it sparked conversations that continue to influence how scientists view severe weather phenomena. The program underscored the complexities of atmospheric science and paved the way for future research into weather modification, disaster preparedness, and the ever-evolving relationship between humanity and nature. The pursuit of knowledge continues to be driven by an earnest desire to protect communities and improve the understanding of the forces that shape our world. Operation Snow White was a controversial covert operation initiated by the Church of Scientology during the 1970s. It aimed to eliminate unfavorable information about the organization from government records, exposing the lengths to which the church would go to protect its image. The operation ultimately revealed a complex interplay between secrecy, power, and the legal system. In the early 1970s, the Church of Scientology found itself facing increasing scrutiny from various governmental bodies and law enforcement agencies. Allegations of fraud, abuse, and illegal activities began to surface, leading to adverse publicity. The church's leadership, particularly L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology, believed that this negative attention was part of a broader conspiracy to undermine their beliefs and practices. In an effort to regain control over its narrative, the church devised Operation Snow White, a mission marked by its ambition and shadowy tactics. The operation involved the infiltration of various government agencies, including the Internal Revenue Service and the Department of Justice, with the goal of obtaining, reviewing, and then purging documents that they deemed unfavorable. The church's operatives, often disguised as legitimate employees, worked diligently within these organizations. These covert operatives employed various tactics, including deception and even impersonation, to access restricted areas and information. One notable aspect of Operation Snow White was the creation of a clandestine network of agents known as the, quote, Guardian's Office. This group was tasked with executing the mission's objectives. They operated with the belief that they were engaged in a righteous cause, acting to protect their beliefs from what they viewed as an unjust government assault. The Guardian's office orchestrated a rigorous campaign that included gathering intelligence on public officials, government employees, and journalists who were critical of Scientology. As the operation unfolded, the church successfully managed to retrieve and destroy thousands of documents from government archives. They meticulously planned and executed raids on various government offices, more akin to espionage than standard legal procedures. The church's operatives showed remarkable resilience and adaptability in their efforts, often changing tactics to evade detection. However, this operation did not go unnoticed. In 1977, the FBI launched a series of investigations into the Church of Scientology, leading to raids on church facilities. During these raids, agents uncovered a trove of documents that exposed the church's covert activities, including the extensive plans and strategies outlined in Operation Snow White. These revelations brought significant legal repercussions for the church, culminating in the indictment of several high-ranking members of the organization. The scandal surrounding Operation Snow White sparked a wide-ranging public and legal backlash. The church faced serious charges, including conspiracy, obstruction of justice, and theft. The fallout resulted in a protracted legal battle that cast a long shadow over the Church of Scientology, affecting its public image and operational capacity. Despite the negative consequences of Operation Snow White, the Church of Scientology continued to remain resilient. They reinvested in public relations efforts to reshape their image, emphasizing their mission to promote human rights, spiritual development, and personal freedom. The lessons learned from this operation influenced their approach to dealing with external criticism moving forward. In the years following Operation Snow White, the Church of Scientology adapted its strategies, moving away from aggressive covert actions and towards more public engagement. They sought to present themselves as a legitimate religious organization deserving of respect and tolerance. The events of Operation Snow White serve as a reminder of the complex relationship between institutions and the power they hold. This operation highlights the sometimes blurred lines between advocacy and manipulation, as well as the measures organizations may take to protect their interests. It encourages us to consider the ethics of information control and the impact that such actions can have on public trust. Understanding Operation Snow White provides insight into the challenges that both institutions and individuals face in their quest for identity, recognition, and acceptance. As we reflect on these past events, we can draw parallels to contemporary issues surrounding information privacy, media representation, and the significance of accountability. The legacy of Operation Snow White continues to provoke discussions about transparency and the importance of maintaining the integrity of public institutions. Project MK-Search emerged in the 1960s as a covert undertaking by the Central Intelligence Agency following the controversial MK-Ultra program. MK-Ultra had been a highly secretive project that explored the possibilities of mind control, including the use of various substances, particularly psychoactive drugs like LSD. While MK-Ultra was officially terminated in the early 1970s, concerns about the implications of mind control and the potential abuses of psychological manipulation prompted the CIA to launch MK-Search as a follow-up effort to continue exploring these themes. While MK-Ultra primarily focused on experimenting with drugs to gather information and modify behavior, MK-Search broadened its horizons. Researchers sought to delve deeper into understanding how various chemicals could alter human perception and cognition. The goal was to uncover substances that could potentially enhance interrogation techniques and intelligence gathering, or even manipulate individual behaviors in more subtle ways. One of the primary focuses of MK-Search was the exploration of LSD. This psychedelic drug gained notoriety for its mind-altering effects, which some believed could be harnessed for purposes of influence or control. Researchers experimented with different dosages, routes of administration, and combinations with other substances to determine the optimal conditions for achieving altered states of consciousness. The fascination with LSD lay in its ability to dissolve barriers of perception and cognition, potentially allowing individuals to express thoughts and feelings that normally remained hidden. In addition to LSD, MK-Search investigated a range of other drugs. This included not just psychedelics, but also substances such as amphetamines and barbiturates. Each substance was scrutinized for its unique properties and effects on the human psyche. For instance, amphetamines, known for their stimulating effects, were examined for their potential to increase alertness and energy. The strategic use of different drugs was thought to create a versatile toolkit for influencing behavior, which could be crucial in high-stakes situations. While exploring these substances, MK Search also studied the psychological and physiological responses they elicited. Researchers looked at how different individuals reacted to the same compounds, leading them to develop profiles of susceptibility. These profiles indicated that some individuals might be more amenable to influence under the effects of certain drugs, while others remained resistant. This line of inquiry hinted at the complex interplay of biology, psychology, and external stimulus in shaping human behavior. Importantly, MK Search was not only about experimenting with drugs, it also extended to understanding the psychological mechanisms behind compliance and suggestion. Researchers sought insights into hypnosis, personality types, and even sociocultural factors that might affect how an individual responds to influence. The program explored environmental variables, social dynamics, and individual experiences to gain a complete understanding of the factors that can lead someone to alter their behavior under the influence of certain stimuli. Despite its ambitious goals, much of the work done under MK Search has remained shrouded in secrecy. As with MK Ultra, ethical considerations and human rights violations overshadowed the projects. Many of the experiments lacked proper consent, raising questions about the ethics of using human subjects for psychological experimentation. Reports emerged later about distressing experiences faced by participants, ranging from confusion to trauma, highlighting the risks involved in such unregulated experimentation. In the years that followed, public scrutiny and disapproval of programs like MK Search forced a review of intelligence practices. The potential for abuse raised alarm bells, prompting calls for reforms and accountability in how agencies studied psychological manipulation and control. The dark legacy of mind control experiments ultimately shifted the conversation towards the ethical treatment of individuals, respect for autonomy, and the importance of informed consent in any scientific endeavor. Even today, the discussions around MK Search evoke curiosity and concern about the implications of using drugs and psychological techniques for influence. The exploration of mind-altering substances continues in various fields today, including psychiatry, psychology, and even recreational settings. Researchers continue to study the neurochemical pathways activated by these drugs, paving the way for potential therapeutic uses, while also considering the ethical boundaries of such explorations. In conclusion, Project MK Search represents a complex chapter in the history of intelligence operations, inviting us to reflect on the boundaries of scientific investigation, the ethical implications of human experimentation, and the mysteries of the human mind. It serves as both a cautionary tale and a reminder of the power held by drugs and psychological techniques, prompting ongoing reflection on the responsibilities that come with such knowledge. In December 1980, something unusual transpired in England's Rendlesham Forest, an area nestled near the twin military bases of RAF Bentwaters and RAF Woodbridge. This incident has since been the subject of intense speculation, investigation, and debate, captivating the imagination of UFO enthusiasts and skeptics alike. The stage was set in a peaceful forest, where an intriguing encounter involving U.S. Air Force personnel unfolded, becoming known as one of the most credible UFO sightings in history. On the night of December 26th, a trio of Air Force personnel reported witnessing strange lights in the woods adjacent to their base. The witnesses were not casual observers. They were trained military men accustomed to looking up to the skies, but what they encountered that night was unlike anything they had ever seen. Describing the lights as bright and hovering in the forest, they felt compelled to venture closer. What they encountered was not just a light show, it was an otherworldly experience. As they approached the area from which the lights emanated, something extraordinary happened. The initial trio was soon joined by others, including the Deputy Base Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt. Their collective experiences began to paint a vivid picture. The team reported seeing a triangular object shrouded in brilliance, which pulsated in colors that shifted between green, blue, and red. The object appeared to land in a clearing, and the witnesses felt an inexplicable draw to investigate further. Among the most fascinating aspects of the encounter was the physical evidence left behind. Some team members reported observing unusual indentations in the ground, where the object supposedly rested. These marks, characterized by their triangular shape, prompted scientists and investigators to analyze them closely. The forest, which ordinarily would have offered a backdrop of serenity, had transformed into a scene of mysterious anomalies. In addition to the physical marks, The team recorded measurements of radiation in the vicinity of the landing site. This scientific approach led to further intrigue, as the readings were higher than the normal background radiation levels. Such details added a layer of credibility to the incident, raising questions about what exactly had taken place that night in Rendlesham Forest. Throughout December 1980 and into January 1981, the story didn't remain confined to the woods. Rumors spread, and reports began to seep into the media, igniting public interest. The incident gained traction, not just as another anecdote of UFO sightings, but as an event involving trained military personnel making detailed observations. Witness accounts were compiled into official reports, some of which have since become declassified, allowing a broader audience to delve into the details of the investigation. The Rendlesham Forest incident drew parallels with other high-profile UFO occurrences, yet it stood apart due to the depth of military involvement and the sheer number of witnesses who came forward with similar accounts. The incident sparked debates within both the scientific community and the public, with opinions ranging from belief in extraterrestrial visitation to alternative explanations such as misidentified aircraft, military exercises, or atmospheric phenomena. One common alternative theory revolves around the idea that the lights observed were part of a nearby lighthouse. Located a few miles away, the Orford Ness Lighthouse could account for some of the sightings when viewed from certain angles. However, the nature of the observations, specifically the distinct triangular object and the physical evidence, has led many to reject this explanation outright. In the years following the incident, the story has grown, intertwined with myths, documentaries, and public discourse surrounding unidentified aerial phenomena. Authors, researchers, and enthusiasts have pored over the available evidence in a quest for clarity. Lively debates continue in forums and gatherings, where individuals explore every aspect of what happened in Rendlesham Forest. This widely discussed incident maintains an allure, drawing attention not only due to its military connections, but because of the human desire to understand our place in the cosmos. Whether regarded as a captivating mystery or a product of misinterpretation, the Rendlesham Forest incident remains an essential part of UFO lore. It poses questions that linger in the minds of people worldwide. What indeed transpired in that secluded British forest on those cold December nights? Was it a fleeting glimpse of something beyond our understanding, or a remarkable convergence of natural phenomena and human perception? As stories of the Rendlesham Forest incident persist and evolve, one thing remains clear. The event encapsulates a moment where ordinary individuals were woven into a narrative that seeks to unravel the universe's secrets. The blending of eyewitness accounts, scientific inquiry, and speculative theory creates a tapestry that invites us to consider the wonders that lie beyond the familiar. Each retelling of this incident can unlock a new perspective, revealing how a single night beneath the stars can resonate through time, stirring curiosity and inspiring exploration of what is still unknown. Operation Mockingbird was a significant and often controversial initiative during the Cold War era, particularly in the context of the tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union. It is said to have originated in the late 1940s and continued into the 1970s. The program aimed to influence the media and shape public opinion, both domestically and internationally, through a network of journalists, publishers, and media organizations. The Cold War was characterized by a fierce ideological battle between capitalism, represented by the United States, and communism, led by the Soviet Union. In this context, information played a crucial role in swaying public perception and support. The CIA recognized early on that controlling the narrative was essential for national security and geopolitical strategy. As a result, they sought to leverage the influence of the press. One of the key elements of Operation Mockingbird was the recruitment of journalists and editors who would be sympathetic to the CIA's goals. The agency reportedly maintained relationships with major newspapers and magazines, ensuring that favorable stories about the United States and unfavorable stories about the Soviets received prominent coverage. This cooperation wasn't always overt. Often, it manifested as subtle guidance or direct funding for specific stories that aligned with CIA objectives. Prominent journalists and media figures of the time were said to have participated in this initiative, whether consciously or through naivete. They wrote articles and produced content that aligned with government viewpoints without fully understanding the motivations behind their information sources. This manipulation of the media blurred the lines between independent journalism and government propaganda, raising ethical questions about the integrity of the news. One memorable case that reflects the operations of Mockingbird is the support given to correspondence covering crucial events like the Korean War. The CIA reportedly funded certain journalists to write pieces that would rally public support for military actions. This tactic was particularly effective in generating favorable perceptions of U.S. interventions abroad, even when the underlying motives were rooted in strategic interests rather than altruistic ones. Beyond just financial incentives or direct relationships, Operation Mockingbird also involved more sophisticated methods of information dissemination. The CIA developed its own publications and collaborated with existing ones to ensure that their narratives reached a broader audience. This extension into printed media allowed the agency to play a significant role in shaping the discourse around crucial global issues. Broadcast media was not exempt from these strategies either. Radio stations and television networks received funds and support to spread anti-communist sentiment. The Voice of America, for example, became a crucial platform, aiming to counteract Soviet propaganda and promote democratic ideals. Mockingbird's influence meant that the lines between entertaining broadcasts and politically motivated messaging often became blurred. Many historians argue that Operation Mockingbird had lasting effects on how news was reported and consumed. The program instilled a skepticism toward the media among both the public and media professionals. The realization that the press could be used as a tool for government agendas contributed to a sense of mistrust that persists today. In the years following the conclusion of the Cold War, the full scope of Operation Mockingbird gradually emerged as more documents and testimonies became available. Investigative reporting revealed cases where journalists were more than simple observers. They were active participants in a broader scheme of intelligence manipulation. This led to discussions about the ethical implications of journalism and the responsibilities of reporters to maintain independence and objectivity. The consequences of such initiatives resonate in our current media landscape, where debates surrounding misinformation, media bias, and governmental influence are prevalent. They remind us of the importance of critical thinking and the need to scrutinize sources of information, viewing news stories through a lens that considers potential biases. As the historical implications of Operation Mockingbird continue to unfold, it serves as a cautionary tale about the intersections of power, information, and responsibility. The quest for truth in journalism remains as relevant today as it was during those tense years of the Cold War, reminding us that information is a potent tool that can shape societies and influence ideologies. The balance between freedom of the press and the potential for governmental manipulation remains a delicate and ongoing conversation. Through reflection on the past, we can aim for a future where transparency, accountability, and integrity in media prevail over hidden agendas and misleading narratives. Project Pluto was a fascinating and highly classified research initiative developed during the early years of the Cold War, spearheaded by the United States Air Force. The primary goal of Project Pluto was to create a new type of aircraft powered by nuclear energy, specifically focused on the creation of ramjet engines, which would have a revolutionary impact on military aviation. Imagine a jet that could fly at incredible speeds, much faster than any traditional aircraft could achieve. The concept of utilizing ramjet engines for this purpose was groundbreaking. Unlike conventional jet engines, which rely on turbines and require significant mechanical parts, ramjet engines are designed to operate at supersonic speeds. They use the vehicle's forward motion to compress incoming air before mixing it with fuel and igniting it. This unique design allows them to fly at high speeds without the need for complex moving parts. What was remarkable about Project Pluto, however, was the idea of using a nuclear reactor as the heat source for these ramjets. The core of the Project Pluto vision was the nuclear-powered cruise missile, known as the Supersonic Low-Altitude Missile, also referred to as SLAM. This missile was intended to be capable of sustained flight at very low altitudes, making it harder for enemy radar systems to detect it. The nuclear-powered ramjet would allow the missile to travel across vast distances while maintaining high speeds, potentially evading defense systems and striking targets with remarkable precision. The engineers and scientists involved in Project Pluto faced numerous challenges. For one, the safety considerations surrounding nuclear power were immense. How could they design an engine that could operate efficiently while containing the radioactive materials safely? Furthermore, the potential for accidents, especially if the vehicle were to crash, posed a significant risk. These challenges required innovative solutions and extensive testing to ensure safety and reliability. In the late 1950s and early 1960s, various test flights and experiments were conducted to explore the capabilities of these nuclear ramjet engines. One of the most ambitious design prototypes was the X-43, which was tested to evaluate the feasibility of nuclear propulsion. These testing phases were critical to understanding the dynamics of nuclear-powered flight and the practical limitations engineers would need to overcome. Despite the excitement surrounding the project, complexities continued to mount. The political climate of the time also played a role in the project's fate. As other technologies, including stealth aircraft and precision-guided munitions, began to emerge as viable options for military strategy, the urgency for Project Pluto diminished. Additionally, concerns over nuclear proliferation and the ethical implications of using nuclear weapons made it increasingly difficult to justify the continuation of such aggressive weapons development programs. By the late 1960s, Project Pluto was officially canceled. Nonetheless, its legacy persisted. The research conducted during this period provided valuable knowledge about nuclear systems and their applications, some of which would inform future aerospace engineering projects. While Project Pluto may no longer be active, it serves as a fascinating chapter in the history of aerospace development and military technology. It represents the larger narrative of innovation and competition during the Cold War, highlighting the lengths to which nations would go to secure their interests and advance their capabilities. The prospect of flying at remarkable speeds powered by nuclear energy was a bold idea that captured the imagination of scientists and military strategists alike, and it continues to inspire discussions about the future of propulsion technologies. Today, as we look at modern propulsion systems, both in military applications and civilian technology, we see how far we have come. The evolution of jet engines, electric flight, and even concepts exploring the use of renewable energy sources demonstrate a shift in priorities and methodologies, combining innovation with safety and sustainability. Ultimately, Project Pluto's story serves as a reminder of the intense ambition that characterizes human exploration and technological advancement. It illustrates how the pursuit of knowledge and discovery often propels us into uncharted territories, testing not just our scientific understanding, but also our moral frameworks. As we continue to strive for progress, it is essential to reflect on these historical endeavors, learning from both their achievements and their challenges to create a better future in aerospace and beyond. The dream of harnessing powerful forces, much like the vision behind Project Pluto, remains alive in the hearts of innovators, pushing the boundaries of what is possible. The Bioshield Project is a significant initiative that was launched by the United States government, specifically designed to address the potential threats posed by bioterrorism. The program's main goal is to develop effective vaccines and treatments to protect the American public from biological attacks. This project stems from the understanding that biological agents can easily be used as weapons against civilians, especially in a world where biological threats are becoming increasingly sophisticated. To grasp the importance of the Bioshield Project, it's essential to consider the types of biological threats governments might face. In the past, various pathogens have been manipulated for malicious purposes, ranging from anthrax to smallpox. These agents can cause widespread panic and significant health crises, creating a need for a proactive response. The Bioshield Project seeks to bridge the gap between potential threats and the necessary medical countermeasures. One of the key aspects of the project is its focus on research and development. The government collaborates with private companies, academic institutions, and research organizations to innovate and create new therapies. This collaboration is vital, as the technical expertise and resources needed to confront these biological weapons often exist outside the public sector. For instance, pharmaceutical companies are encouraged to participate in developing vaccines that can respond quickly in the event of an outbreak. Investing in research is just one part of the initiative. The Bioshield Project has a robust framework for ensuring that these vaccines are not only effective, but also produced in large quantities swiftly. The government has established stockpiles of vaccines and treatments to ensure access in an emergency. These stockpiles serve as a reserve of medical countermeasures that can rapidly be deployed to affected areas. Moreover, the Bioshield Project recognizes that threats continuously evolve over time. Pathogens can change, or new ones may emerge, which means that treatments developed must be adaptable and resilient to those changes. Regular updates and advancements in scientific understanding play a crucial role in keeping the defenses up to date. This dynamic approach is necessary to address biological threats that may arise unexpectedly. The project also emphasizes preparedness and response strategies. It is not enough to merely have vaccines on hand. The infrastructure to distribute these vaccines effectively during a crisis is equally important. The government has been working on developing efficient systems for identifying outbreaks, managing logistics, and coordinating among various agencies to ensure a rapid and effective response. This collaborative effort between state and federal agencies exemplifies a comprehensive approach to national security. Education and training form another pillar of the Bioshield Project. Public health officials, first responders, and healthcare providers receive instructions on how to handle biological threats. This training ensures that those on the front lines are equipped to respond appropriately in times of crisis, making the entire community more resilient to potential attacks. Encouraging awareness and readiness among the public also plays a vital role in community preparedness. In addition, the project fosters innovation through grants and incentives for companies and researchers to develop breakthrough technologies. This includes advancements in delivery systems for vaccines, new methods for diagnosis, and therapies that can combat a wide range of biological agents. By offering a supportive environment for innovation, the government enhances the nation's ability to combat biological threats effectively. Another element of the Bioshield Project is the commitment to transparency and cooperation with international partners. Bioterrorism is not confined by borders. Therefore, global information sharing and collaborative efforts to combat these threats are crucial. By working with other countries, the project aims to strengthen global health security. This collective vigilance ensures a more unified and effective response to biological threats worldwide. The project's funding allocations are also significant. Over the years, the government has invested billions of dollars into the Bioshield Project to ensure it remains robust and effective. These funds are used not only for research and development, but also for public health initiatives designed to strengthen the country's biological defense infrastructure. This economic commitment underscores the seriousness with which the government views the threat of bioterrorism. As we consider the future, it is clear that the need for ongoing vigilance and readiness remains paramount. With emerging technologies and potential new threats recognized regularly, the importance of projects like Bioshield will likely grow. Continuous investment in scientific research, proactive public health policies, and international collaboration will all be crucial in maintaining a state of readiness. Ultimately, the Bioshield Project serves as a testament to the government's commitment to protecting public health and safety. By focusing on prevention, preparedness, and response strategies, it aims to mitigate the dangers posed by biological threats. Understanding and supporting such initiatives is fundamental to fostering resilience and ensuring a safe environment for all. As new challenges arise, the practices and innovations stemming from the Bioshield Project will play an essential role in shaping the nation's capabilities to confront these challenges head-on. In the early 1960s, during the tense years of the Cold War, the United States embarked on a clandestine initiative known as Project Iceworm. This endeavor aimed to construct a vast network of mobile nuclear missile launch sites beneath the ice of Greenland. The location was chosen due to its strategic position and the vast ice sheet that covered much of the island. The primary goal of Project Iceworm was to deploy intercontinental ballistic missiles, or ICBMs, that would be hidden from enemy radar and capable of being launched quickly. The rationale behind this project was rooted in the need for a reliable and flexible nuclear deterrent against potential threats from the Soviet Union. By establishing these missile sites under the ice, the U.S. military hoped to gain a significant advantage in the arms race that defined this period. The logistical challenges of building a facility beneath a thick layer of ice were immense. Researchers faced the daunting task of ensuring that the missiles could be securely housed, maintained, and transported within the harsh Arctic environments. Engineers designed specialized equipment that could withstand freezing temperatures while also ensuring the safety and functionality of the nuclear warheads. To understand the scale of this project, it is essential to consider the geological and environmental conditions of Greenland. The vast ice sheet can be several kilometers thick, presenting various challenges for construction and long-term stability. The idea of drilling deep into that ice and creating an underground facility was ambitious and fraught with uncertainty. Scientists also had to consider potential environmental impacts and the preservation of the fragile Arctic ecosystem. The covert nature of Project Iceworm meant that the operations were shrouded in secrecy from the public and much of the world. The U.S. government collaborated with the Greenlandic government and the Danish authorities, but the specifics of the program went largely unreported. Only a small group of military officials and scientists were aware of the true extent of the project, which created an air of intrigue and mystery surrounding the entire undertaking. As construction began, the initiative faced significant obstacles. The harsh climate of Greenland, with its severe winds and extreme cold, took a toll on workers and machinery. Crews encountered difficulties in drilling and maintaining the infrastructure that was essential for the operation of the missile systems. The challenge of maintaining operational readiness while ensuring the safety of the personnel involved in the project was a constant source of tension. Moreover, Project Iceworm had to adapt to the evolving geopolitical landscape. As time progressed, the dynamics of the Cold War shifted, and the immediate threat from the Soviet Union altered the priorities of U.S. military strategies. The need for a mobile nuclear deterrent under the ice was called into question, prompting discussions about the future of the project. Ultimately, Project Iceworm was gradually abandoned by the late 1960s. Several factors contributed to this decision, including the significant financial costs, the development of new missile technology, and changing military priorities. The melting of the Arctic ice due to climate change further complicated the feasibility of maintaining the sites, as rising temperatures posed risks of structural instability and logistical challenges. However, the legacy of Project Iceworm endures as a fascinating chapter in Cold War history. It provides insight into the lengths to which nations would go to secure their interests in a world marked by suspicion and competition. The secretive nature of the project is a reminder of the ever-present tension between national security and transparency. While the project itself may have been short-lived, the implications of its existence highlight the intricate relationship between technology, geopolitics, and environmental considerations. The Arctic, a vast and largely untouched expanse, has become increasingly strategic in the modern era, with nations vying for control over its resources and passages as climate change reshapes its landscape. In the end, Project Iceworm represents not only the complexity of Cold War efforts, but also the ongoing debates about military strategy and environmental stewardship. Today, as the world grapples with the consequences of climate change and the legacy of nuclear weapons, reflecting on these ambitious projects from the past encourages a deeper understanding of how history shapes our present and future. In the shadowy world of espionage, where secrets are currency and every advantage is sought after, the CIA embarked on a fascinating, yet controversial journey into the realm of human psychic abilities. Known as the Sixth Sense CIA trial, this initiative explored the potential of psychic phenomena as tools for intelligence gathering and covert operations. The roots of this investigation trace back to the 1970s during the Cold War, a time characterized by fierce competition between the United States and the Soviet Union. As both superpowers sought to outmaneuver each other, unconventional methods of intelligence gathering became a point of intrigue. Amidst this backdrop, intelligence agencies began to consider whether innate human abilities, often sensationalized in science fiction and folklore, could be tapped for real-world applications. The program that emerged from this curiosity was called Stargate Project, which sought to determine whether psychics could provide actionable intelligence. The project encompassed various methods of psychic functioning, with a particular focus on remote viewing. The ability to perceive details about a distant or unseen target through extrasensory perception. The participants, often referred to as, quote, viewers, would be asked to describe or sketch locations, events, or objects they could not physically see. One of the most notable individuals associated with the Stargate project was Joseph McMoneagle, a former Army intelligence officer. McMoneagle achieved considerable success in the realm of remote viewing, providing descriptions of locations and activities that were later confirmed through conventional intelligence methods. His experiences, along with those of other participants, sparked both excitement and skepticism within the intelligence community. Critics often dismissed these abilities as mere coincidence or luck, attributing any successes to chance rather than genuine psychic insight. The scientific community's skepticism was fueled by the challenges of replicating such phenomena consistently under controlled conditions. Controlled tests became a focal point for examining the efficacy of psychic efforts, as determining the validity of these claims required rigorous scrutiny. Despite the doubts, intelligence analysts with an open mind saw the potential for incorporating these abilities into their work. They envisioned a scenario in which an operative could gain access to information withheld from traditional espionage methods. The notion that someone could tap into an unknown source of intelligence without physically being present at an event was both intriguing and captivating. The CIA conducted numerous experiments to validate the findings of the project. In one notable instance, a viewer was tasked with detailing an event happening in real time in a foreign country. The detailed observations provided by the viewer were analyzed for accuracy, revealing specific insights into military maneuvers that were later corroborated. While such success stories became the bedrock of optimism for advocates of psychic research, they were often countered by instances where results fell flat, leading to ambivalence about the program's ultimate value. The Sixth Sense CIA trial also initiated debates about the ethical implications of employing psychic abilities in intelligence operations. Questions arose. To what extent could one rely on human intuition, backed by potential psychic capabilities in matters of national security? And, if this exploration had merit, how could it be regulated to ensure its ethical application? As the years progressed, ongoing scrutiny and a lack of consistent results began to shift priorities within the CIA and other governmental organizations. By the mid-1990s, the Stargate project was officially terminated, leading to a wave of speculation about its legacy. Many considered it a failure, overshadowed by the considerable amounts of funding and resources that had been invested over the years. However, others viewed it as a vital exploration into the untapped potential of the human mind, leaving open the possibility that future generations might revisit these inquiries with new perspectives and technologies. In retrospect, while the Sixth Sense CIA trial may not have achieved the results the agency hoped for, it sparked curiosity that blurred the line between science and the supernatural. It echoed the age-old fascination with the capabilities of the human brain, luring us into the esoteric while challenging the boundaries of what we perceive as possible. Today, the effects of the project linger in popular culture, inspiring movies, books, and numerous paranormal discussions. The trial's story serves not just as an investigation of psychic phenomena, but as a testament to humanity's relentless quest to explore the unknown. Centuries of interest in these themes demonstrate a universal longing to understand ourselves and the mysteries that shroud our existence, even when the journey leads us into territories that seem far beyond the ordinary. Ultimately, the curious tale of the Sixth Sense CIA trial urges us to ponder the depths of human potential and the thin veil that separates empirical realism from the unexplained wonders of life. This exploration invites not just intelligence officers, but all of us, to consider what remains hidden in the vast expanses of human capacity, those elements that elude our current understanding, but might yet hold immense significance for the future. Operation Bernhard was a covert operation initiated by Nazi Germany during World War II with the intent to destabilize the British economy through the production and distribution of high-quality counterfeit British banknotes. Launched in 1942, this plan was crafted by the SS and was named after a fictitious character, Hans Bernhard, representing a Jewish businessman supposedly involved in the planning of this operation. The operation began with the realization that the British pound was a formidable force in the global economy. The Nazis recognized that if they could undermine the value of this currency, they could create chaos not only in Britain, but also in other countries that relied heavily on the pound for trade. The goal was to print enough counterfeit notes to saturate the British economy, leading to inflation, loss of confidence in the currency, and ultimately economic turmoil. To execute this ambitious plan, the Nazis enlisted some of their best forgers and counterfeiters. They set up a secret facility in Sachsenhausen concentration camp. Here, they focused on creating counterfeits of 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 20 pounds, and 50 pounds notes, which were meticulously crafted to resemble the real banknotes as closely as possible. This involved advanced techniques of printing, paper manufacturing, and even replicating the unique features of British banknotes. For example, they used a special type of paper that included the same watermarks and security threads found in authentic notes. The attention to detail was so impressive that it became increasingly difficult for experts to distinguish between the genuine and the counterfeit. The level of authenticity achieved by the forgers caught the attention of Nazi leadership, who saw the potential for a grander scale operation. They intended to flood the British market with at least 100 million pounds in counterfeit notes, a staggering amount that could devastate the economy. The plan involved using numerous methods to circulate these notes throughout Britain, including engaging criminals to help smuggle the currency into shops or use it in transactions, thereby getting the counterfeit money into circulation. However, Operation Bernhard encountered numerous obstacles. The Germans faced logistical issues, including the challenge of distributing the counterfeit notes without being detected. Moreover, as the war progressed, priorities shifted, and resources became stretched. The German military was heavily focused on direct combat operations, and the significant effort required for the operation pulled attention away from the original plan. In response to their difficulties, the Nazis developed a series of creative strategies to get around these obstacles. They even established a plan to drop balloon bombs containing the counterfeit notes over Britain, a method designed to spread panic and confusion among the British population. However, these plans ultimately proved impractical. As the war turned against Germany and the Allies began to gain the upper hand, Operation Bernhard was put on hold. By 1945, the scale of the operation had decreased significantly, and the focus shifted towards more immediate military concerns. Although the operation never achieved its intended outcome, the knowledge the Germans gained during its execution revealed a lot about the complexities involved in counterfeiting and the vulnerabilities of national currencies. In the aftermath of the war, the surviving counterfeit notes became a fascinating subject of analysis. They demonstrated not just the lengths to which the Nazis were willing to go to disrupt their enemies, but also highlighted the importance of currency security and the methods by which nations protect their economies from such attacks. Operation Bernhard stands as a significant yet often overlooked chapter in the history of World War II. It serves as a reminder of the innovative but nefarious ways in which warfare can extend beyond the battlefield, affecting national economies, social systems, and the trust that societies place in their financial institutions. Today, the lessons learned from this operation continue to resonate, influencing how modern economies approach issues of currency security, counterfeiting, and economic warfare. The story is a testament to the intersection of ingenuity, deceit, and economics during one of the most tumultuous times in history. Imagine a future where weapon systems have transcended traditional boundaries, reaching beyond the atmosphere into the vastness of space. In this vision lies Project Thor, a theoretical concept that redefines warfare, utilizing kinetic energy weapons to conduct strikes from orbit. At the heart of Project Thor is the idea of using non-explosive, high-velocity projectiles that can be launched from satellites or other space-based platforms. Unlike conventional munitions that rely on explosives, these kinetic weapons harness the physics of speed and mass to deliver devastating impacts. The fundamental principle is simple. An object falling from great heights gains immense velocity due to gravity. When this object meets its target, the impact can be catastrophic, resembling the effect of a small nuclear weapon, but without the fallout. To visualize this, consider a tungsten rod, known as a, quote, rod from God. This simple metal cylinder, roughly the size of a telephone pole, could be propelled towards the Earth at incredible speeds, reaching velocities of over 7,000 miles per hour as it enters the atmosphere. The sheer momentum of such a projectile, combined with its mass, could cause significant destruction upon impact, striking with a force equivalent to tons of TNT. One of the compelling advantages of Project Thor is its ability to strike targets with unprecedented precision and speed. When launched from space, these kinetic weapons could reach any location on the globe in a matter of minutes. Imagine a situation where a critical target is identified but is well guarded and time-sensitive. The rapid response capability of a system like this would change the dynamics of national security and strategic response. Theoretically, Project Thor would function at stratospheric altitudes, where atmospheric resistance is minimal. This allows for a more streamlined path to targets, reducing the chances of interception. Additionally, launching weapons from space complicates detection and defense measures. Traditional air defense systems are designed to intercept missiles, but these kinetic projectiles approach their targets at incredible speeds and from unexpected angles, potentially evading many existing defense technologies. Another fascinating aspect of Project Thor is its potential for deterrence. The existence of such a system could act as a stabilizing force in international relations. Nations might be less likely to engage in aggressive actions when they know that a swift and powerful response can be delivered within minutes from the depths of space. This aspect of deterrence is crucial as it leads to the consideration of how nations might perceive and react to such technologies. However, the implications of Project Thor also raise significant ethical and strategic questions. The ability to strike anywhere on Earth from space presents challenges in terms of accountability and control. The potential for unintended consequences increases with the speed at which these weapons could be deployed. In the heat of conflict, the distinction between combatants and civilians could blur, leading to tragic outcomes. International treaties currently govern the use of space, but concepts like Project Thor challenge existing frameworks. As nations grapple with the implications of space-based weapons, discussions around regulating their production and deployment become essential. The goal would be to ensure that advancements in military technology do not spiral into an arms race that could destabilize global order. Moreover, advancements in technology could enhance the capabilities of Project Thor. Imagine sensors and AI systems guiding the launch and targeting of these kinetic projectiles, allowing for highly precise strikes based on real-time intelligence. However, this also raises further concerns about the potential for autonomous systems to make life and death decisions without human intervention. The ramifications extend to military strategy, which could emphasize space-based platforms and capabilities more heavily. Nations might prioritize investments in satellite networks and develop corresponding military doctrines focused on dominating the orbital domain. This shift could lead to a new kind of arms competition, characterized not only by ground-based or air-based weapons, but by space-based systems that can influence outcomes on Earth. In summary, Project Thor represents a fascinating intersection of technology, defense, and international relations. By transforming the concept of warfare through the utilization of kinetic weapons launched from space, it challenges our understanding of military capabilities and strategic deterrence. Yet, it also compels us to consider the ethical implications and the need for comprehensive regulations governing the use of space in military contexts. As humanity stands on the brink of this new technological frontier, the balance of power, security, and responsibility must guide our path forward into the vast, uncharted territory of space-based military capabilities. The conversation about how we navigate these challenges is as important as the technologies themselves and will shape the future of not just warfare, but the very nature of our interactions as we explore and utilize the cosmos. Weather has always played a crucial role in human life, influencing agriculture, infrastructure, and even politics. As societies evolved, so did our desire to understand and manipulate the natural world around us. One of the fascinating realms of this endeavor is weather modification, a field that seeks to alter or control weather patterns for strategic and practical benefits. The concept of modifying the weather isn't just a recent phenomenon. Historical accounts trace back to ancient civilizations attempting to influence rainfall through rituals and dances. However, the modern age of weather modification began in the mid-20th century with scientific advancements and a deeper understanding of atmospheric processes. One of the earliest and most well-known forms of weather modification is cloud seeding. This technique involves dispersing substances into the atmosphere to encourage precipitation. Silver iodide, sodium chloride, and other materials are commonly used. The idea is simple. By introducing these particles into clouds, they serve as nuclei around which moisture can condense, forming raindrops. In some instances, this can be beneficial during periods of drought, helping to support agriculture by ensuring crops receive sufficient water. Countries around the world have invested in cloud seeding programs. For instance, China has implemented extensive weather modification projects, particularly in preparation for significant events like the 2008 Olympics in Beijing. The goal was to ensure clear skies by artificially inducing rain before critical dates. Similarly, the United States has employed cloud seeding in various states, providing much-needed water to parched areas. However, the practice is not without controversy. Critics often raise concerns about the ethical implications and potential environmental impacts of altering natural weather patterns. Questions arise around whether localized changes could inadvertently affect weather systems in surrounding areas. For example, while cloud seeding in one region might increase rainfall there, it could lead to reduced precipitation elsewhere, creating an imbalance in the natural ecosystem. In addition to cloud seeding, research into other forms of weather modification has gained momentum. Concepts like hurricane modification have been explored, with the aim of potentially weakening storms before they make landfall. Ideas have ranged from cooling ocean waters to inhibit hurricane formation to various methods of disrupting the storm structure. While these strategies sound appealing, the complexity of weather systems poses significant challenges. The unpredictable nature of storms makes any direct intervention risky. The consequences of such actions could lead to unintended climatic shifts or even exacerbate situations. Another intriguing aspect of weather modification programs involves innovative technologies aimed at influencing local climates. For instance, some researchers are exploring how urban environments can be designed to mitigate heat or increase rainfall. The idea is to use reflective surfaces, vegetation, and water bodies strategically within cities to create, quote, urban weather gardens that can temper local temperatures and encourage microclimatic changes. Furthermore, the concept of geoengineering has emerged, proposing more drastic approaches to managing Earth's climate. While it goes beyond traditional weather modification, geoengineering encompasses ideas like reflecting sunlight away from Earth or capturing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. These ambitious strategies are primarily focused on combating climate change, but also intermingle with weather modification principles. As we delve deeper into this subject, it's essential to recognize that international cooperation and regulation will play a significant role in the future of weather modification. Weather knows no boundaries, and interventions in one area can have ripple effects across the globe. This has led to discussions among nations regarding guidelines for ethical practices in weather modification. Collaborative efforts could ensure that interventions serve the greater good, rather than the interests of a few. While the prospect of controlling or altering weather patterns sounds enticing, it is a field marked by uncertainty and complexity. The atmosphere is a dynamic system where variables interact in intricate ways, making predictions challenging. Ensuring that weather modifications are safe, ethical, and beneficial is paramount as technology continues to evolve. Despite the hurdles, the quest to understand and potentially modify weather reflects humanity's enduring relationship with the environment. The advancements in technology and science are bound to yield new insights, further expanding our capabilities in this area. As researchers continue to explore the boundaries of what is possible, the discussions around the ethical implications and environmental consequences will remain crucial. In the grand tapestry of life on Earth, weather is just one thread. The ability to influence it brings to mind the age-old desire for mastery over nature, paired with a responsibility to treat it with respect. As we navigate the complexities of weather modification programs, we will continue to learn more about our world and our place within it.